Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to the true, I'm going to do the Jedi mind trick on you right now, the true episode 55 of the Stevie Richards Show. My co-host will explain, because I just learned this in the last hour before recording. Today, though, for sure, will be part 2 of talking about WWF and WWE Developmental. We're going to talk about OVW, FCW, NXT, my week as a guest coach at the Performance Center. How's that for a hook? My co-host, James Romero. Did you do a good enough job?
Yeah, that's been sat on my desk for over a year and I never used it.
What is that thing?
It should be sat there. It's just a slide whistle, but it's a wooden one.
You trying to be like K100 now?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm sorry. Right,
that's a kazoo, isn't it? Isn't that kazoo?
I don't know. Should never listen to it. Do you listen to it?
No, I don't
listen to other podcasts.
I heard the kazoo thing one time. That was like 4 years ago.
There we go then. Right, yes, we're going to be talking about that, all the good stuff with Developmental. We're also going to be talking about Goldberg on Ariel Helwani yesterday as we record this. We're going to be talking about Charles Robinson getting what he deserved yet again, that damn bully Charles Robinson. And also we're going to be talking about Street Fighter, the movie, and a number of wrestlers being cast for that as well. So plenty to talk about. One thing you didn't mention, Stevie, and also I should have brought up beforehand. Do you have a curriculum, an improved curriculum, over the NXT curriculum currently?
I'm currently preparing that because I wanted to do research on the current curriculum, which I'm not finding any. That might be the first problem right there, but I am developing something. I think it's going to be a YouTube exclusive, or maybe during the next episode, which will probably be the third round of episode 55. I'm never going to let that go. Explain that in 1 second, but I am putting together an actual curriculum just to give people an idea. There was a point, even after, how should I say, between 2019 and maybe up until a couple of years ago, where I was in my mind having a concept of a camp, like an entire weekend where you immerse yourself, like a workshop, not just a seminar where I come in, sit at the corner of the apron and just talk to you about everything, but it would have been a curriculum, 8 hours a day from a Friday to a Sunday, or a Saturday and a Sunday, with that curriculum having everything to do with what it takes to be a wrestler. Almost like, if you think about an accelerated course or something where it can really springboard you onto the right foot. And it would have included the smartboard as well when I added that onto that. So I know we never do smartboard stuff, but I'm saving it for the seminars. So explain why this is really episode 55.
Well, I was going to say, technically, we don't do smartboard stuff anymore because the iPad's so much easier.
True. When I stand up by the smartboard, I tend to talk with my Italian hands and everything. I work up a good sweat doing that. It's a lot more relaxing.
I know, but we also had to wait like 7-8 minutes for you to like shift over, switch the cameras. I do like the iPad better. I know visually it's probably better for the fans, but it does save time.
Well, I'm going to tell you too, I'm actually in touch with a few different companies that use the Mac software as well as the iPad software, where we'll be able to do different stuff. And some of it might be pre-produced with the arrows and the highlights and everything. But that might be our next step that I'm looking at doing with a couple pieces of software. One notably, Bill Belichick, former coach of the New England Patriots, he used it during his show, and I actually communicate with the person that developed that software quite often. He's a really good guy. He's actually over in your area, as a matter of fact.
Stay away from my area. Which area?
The UK.
Big area.
That's all I know.
Oh, right. We'll do the intro very. Is that the video you sent me earlier today?
No.
Studio.
No, there was something else. No, that studio setup was ESPN and a little bit of inspiration for when I finally fly over and micromanage to build your studio and just give you some ideas.
It'll be happening. Don't you worry about that. Right, we have to do the intro very, have to do it quickly. We can do it slowly as we want. Fitness channel, Stevie Richards Fitness. The YouTube channel. I'll do it normal cadence now.
Good Lord. Is that ASMR?
Go subscribe to it.
ASMR?
Yeah. The Stevie Richards Fitness channel. There you go. No views bought on that YouTube channel, as is there no YouTube views bought on any WSI Network YouTube channels, because we don't need to. Next up, the Stevie Richards cameo, one of the most popular cameos on the entire Cameo platform. And the reason is, one, he's reasonably priced. I keep telling him to up those prices, so get him while those prices are still reasonable. And two, he gives you more than your money's worth, more than anybody else pretty much on that platform will give you. So please do that. And most importantly, of all the Stevie Richards Patreon, that goes up dozens of people signing up every single week. I even checked it the other day. Oh, there's another 35. Constantly. And the reason is because we do the show within a show, the pre-show, which is lasting longer and longer. It seems to be like a half-hour thing where we'll talk about either the show, whatever's on our minds, that preacher who threatens that
Kenneth Copeland
reporter, I guess. Yeah.
Don't you ever say
as well. You know, one day we're just going to like reenact Jesus, He Knows Me by Genesis. Reenact that video.
Yeah, I'm surprised Kenneth Copeland. You got to watch the COVID-19 one. Where he blows it away and they have backup singers. Yeah, you saw that, but the full one's actually a lot more disturbing than even the remix version that you love with that.
The most important thing, of course, with the Patreon is the watch-alongs. That's the hook that we get everybody to sign up for. We watch a match every single week. It can be anything. It can be involving Stevie. It could be something brand new, modern, something that Stevie loves from the past, or something so terrible that we have to watch it to believe it once again. I'm still trying to get you to watch Jenna, Maraska, and Charmel.
I was there to watch it. That was pretty much enough for me. But this week's watch-along will not be Test. Big shock right there. Sorry, Test. I had to bump you back another week. So we're going to be 2 or 3 studios later by the time you see the first studio with Test.
With the way you go through studios.
Well, I am redesigning this.
It could be in 6 months.
I am it could be 6 days. Who knows? But this Monday is Goldberg versus Gunther, the full watch along from Saturday night's main event. And we had a trend when we watched older stuff that had like, ooh, that was really, really bad. Ooh, that was bad. And then we watch it back like 20 years later and like, really wasn't that bad. This was the reverse. When we reviewed it on the clip and on the dedicated Saturday night's main event all-in review show, we were like, it was a really good match. Then when we did the watch along, I was like, wow, this is moving pretty slow. Right?
Yeah, hey, but the speech was quick.
Oh, we did. There's another hook for right later on. We are going to talk about the 20-second send-off speech for Bill Goldberg. My theory about it, James' theory, and of course, Bret Hart's theory on what happened.
I think Bret Hart pulled the plug, but we'll figure that out. We'll try and work out all these theories when we get
Brett,
to it after we
Brett,
talk
by
about
the way,
developmental.
You will become an internet meme in 2025 and moving forward if you literally have a plug in your hand and split screen with the NBC logo. That would live forever.
Right, in fact, while you're talking next, I'm going to get someone to make that image.
For a
we will try and get it out before. Oh, yeah.
Thumbnail.
There you go.
Who
right,
cut
okay.
Goldberg
Thumbnail
off
Twitter.
with Bret Hart?
In fairness, I think a lot of people have already done that. I've seen a few already.
Yeah, but they're not going to talk about it for 15 minutes, though.
Oh, no, we will beat that one to death, I'll tell you. Right, okay, let's get into the meat of developmental now. So we're going to go to 2004, the beginning of 2004, Ohio Valley Wrestling. You perform a good few matches there. One thing I couldn't find was if you were at the Six Flags shows or one of the Six Flags shows. Did you make it?
No, I was not at the Six Flags show. I did not work that, but I would have liked to have worked the Six Flags show. They seem to really, we talked about Kane versus Leviathan, who became Batista on one of those shows, and there's a lot of other ones where Cena, Orton, and other people, even in their full-time WWE careers, would still go back and work the Six Flags shows.
Benoit did. Steve Austin turned up to one, I think.
I think he did an autograph signing and a promo, I think, right?
Yeah. And a stunner at the end, I think, as well. Maybe on Nick Dinsmore? Nick, let us know. Right, here's the thing. I mean, it's around the time 2004. You and Victoria are about on the verge of being split apart for no good reason, and you just find out that you're split, and we've covered that as well on a previous show and a previous clip. Instead of taking a drink, when we refer to a previous show, it should be regurgitate a drink, so eventually it'll balance out. Why were you sent to OVW?
In this case, at this particular point in my career, I would say I volunteered. If I can remember, yeah, obviously the first time when I really turned my career around in WWE, it was make it or break it, and you still might be broken and released. We talked about that in the previous episode. But this time, For me, it was about staying busy, and always when they had those weekly meetings, the name, like how I got released, the name goes around. Vince will say the name, or somebody will say the name Stevie Richards. If somebody speaks up and says Stevie's in OVW, he's working with guys and he's coaching down there, cool. You bought yourself another week or two, or however many weeks you're down there. So I went here on my own dime. I wanted to stay in ring shape. I wanted to stay ready. And also at the same time, I wanted to make myself, basically not indispensable, but still useful to the company. So yeah, there's a lot of times I would do that. Now, a year later, it's after the Chris Masters incident, I went to get in the better ring shape after recovering from the broken face.
How long were you in OVW for? I mean, I thought you were still appearing for WWE television at this point.
If it's 2004, the beginning, I might have wanted to go there because I wasn't working enough. And also, you're talking about the beginning, January to April or February to April. This is WrestleMania season. February is right after the Rumble, WrestleMania. I guess I was just in my mind too. If they had said, we suggest you go or can you go, I was right there already volunteering as well. Because when did the cuts come in the WWE calendar?
Post-WrestleMania.
Right after WrestleMania. So what I'm trying to do is build up at least we have some use for this guy here and we can keep using him, even if it's developmental. And my ego too, by the way. I'm not necessarily lighting the wrestling world on fire, nor fulfilling what I wanted to be as a professional wrestler. In OVW, I have more creative control in order to work younger talent and also prove that I could still work. There's all these different benefits to it. So also, it's on my own dime. I'm not making a lot of money. I'm paying my own expenses. I'm staying at a weekly motel. It's good, but it's not home. So there is a certain amount of stress attached to it.
Yeah, so you go 2004 for, I don't know, you have 2 matches, so...
Minimum of 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and you're still on WWE's house show loop a week afterwards, I guess. So you do actually appear international version of Sunday Night Heat Test versus... defeats, unfortunately, Stevie Richards. So, I mean, if you feel bad about bumping him every week on Patreon, there's that. And then you would appear in 2005 a couple of times as well. One of them against Danny Inferno and one time against Paul Burchill. We'll be talking about Paul later on as well. So while you're at OVW, is it the same building that Al Snow and company run to this day?
Yeah, I think Shepherdsville Road,
Arena.
Correct? Shepherdsville Road is where they had back then. So I think it looks exactly the same, I believe, because you have all the production equipment, you have the stuff in the back where Danny Davis was running those shows. They were live to tape. So they were working hard time on each segment, in each match. So you had a whole control thing, like a mini truck that the director and everybody would be in. Danny had that in an office. The infrastructure was there. I'm assuming with Al buying the company from Danny Davis, that everything, including that building, would still be there. I'm not even familiar. I'm assuming they own the building by this point. And it's not rented out for 20 plus years.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Did you watch Wrestlers on Netflix? Was it last year or the year before?
I did not, but I heard about it. That was where Chavo was doing a lot of the stunt coordination and everything.
No. This was the OVW.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't see that. That's something that they reviewed that on Russo's show a few times, but I did not catch that. That was Glow, I think, the one with Chavo. I'm sorry.
Glow was good. Glow was a good series. I hadn't realised for ages that Amazing Kong was in it as one of the actresses as well. I don't know how I missed it, but it's like Mark Maron.
Mark Maron, I think.
Mark Maron. Yeah. He was one of the leads. And Kate Nash, for some reason, who's a pop star over here at one point. Right. We can't talk about OVW without the owners of OVW, or the main, the head people running it and owning it and all that kind of thing. Very briefly, Nightmare Danny Davis. He, it was his company. He had OVW before the WWF at the time. He never bought them out or anything, but, it was running for a while before it ended up being an official developmental territory. What was Danny Davis's role? What would he do? Was he just purely production? Was he doing any training?
Well, I don't know if he was doing any training. he probably showed up for some of it, because when I went there, usually it was in the morning for us to train, and they had beginner classes. They had all these different tiers of classes throughout the day. I don't know how many days a week. I'm assuming Monday through Friday outside of TV tapings, which were, I believe, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I'm not sure, but it was during the week when they did their TV tapings. And then we would do house shows on the weekends. And they did house show loops, by the way, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back and train. It was a 7-day-a-week job for the students, as well as people like myself who wanted to contribute. Danny did everything. Danny ran the control truck. Danny ran the times. Danny booked with Cornette. And then after Cornette, I think, sold his half or whatever percentage to Danny, Danny still took it over. And of course, I think there was some talent that was helping agent matches and helping with creative, but I don't know the names that were in Danny's inner circle. But he was very much a one-man show, because Cornette was also on the road a lot too. So he would take a lot of the responsibility of doing it. And let's not forget about promoting talents, booking talents, advertisers, all that stuff. And Al could speak on that, because I think Al had said a few times during the clips that I watched with Russo that he was literally doing all of that stuff himself. And I don't know if he's training people, but he has trainers there that are the people that have been OVW standouts for a long time.
And speaking of training, I know you've got a story. I asked you beforehand, do you have a story on Rip Rogers? And you went, yep. That's all I need to know.
Well, I'm going to preface it with this. Rip Rogers is a very old school wrestler, obviously had a lengthy career when I went down there in 2004. All he knew of me was, this is one of those ECW guys, not the Right to Censor, WWE, WWF. When I got into the ring, he started cutting such a promo on me, and I didn't take it personally. Dude, I'm talking 10 seconds in. And I can't even repeat the quote verbatim for obvious F-bomb reasons. But it was basically like, your ECW crap and all the ECW garbage and all the ECW this and that, it isn't going to fly here. You need to know how to wrestle and blah, blah, blah. And that BS with the fire, the chairs, the tables. And he said fire again. And I looked at him and I go, have you seen anything I've done? I was a comedy act. Oh, walks away.
Ah, dear. How was his training methods? Because tons of people, rave about him as a trainer.
Well, if you look at Randy Orton,
if you've got thick skin, anyway.
But see, that's what's missing to it. I mean, there's moderation and everything, too much and too little. But he coached them hard and broke them in. It does resemble boot camp with a Rip Rogers. The cursing, the swearing, the yelling, the pressure. But that's what the business is. Essentially, it's not like going to war, but it kind of is for your career, to fight for it every day and make sure you make progress. And you need thicker skin in order to deal with some of these people, the personalities, and even sometimes the ribs, or people really, truly trying to make your life a living hell. Not just messing with you, but trying to get you to quit. So the whole thing in wrestling school, and I experienced this, my entire wrestling school training, and even early on in my career, and probably going in new locker rooms as well, was to try to see if you'll quit. And that's where Rip came in. But look at the results. We can give the spoilers right now. Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and a host of all other people that have consistently made a name for themselves decades later after being trained under Rip Rogers.
What do you remember of Rip we'll talk more about Rip in a minute, training and other stuff he's well known for. What do you think of Rip as a wrestler himself? Because he was always one of the most colourful guys who would be on NWA or WCW TV. He would never be given much of a chance. He was always enhancement talent, basically. But it's not like he wasn't talented. And he was a world traveller as well. He did, many international tours. Yeah,
unfortunately, I mean, I can speak to this. This speaks close to my heart as somebody that can work, perform, stand out, and especially in a flamboyant sense, stand out in a very bland product like a WCW and NWA. And this lends me to believe that Rip was ahead of his time. If a Rip Rogers character was somebody that came by, say the WWF, back in the 80s, saw the Rip Rogers character and Vince was really high on it, it probably would have fit in a lot better than the very bland, gritty type of NWA WCW presentation. That's what I see. And if Rip was somebody who had the knowledge and he was flamboyant in this time frame, 2004, he might have been right. He might have been pushed to a Rico type thing or beyond that, if you think about it, because they had similar Adrian Street type of vibes to them.
I think Mick Foley described Rip as too weird even for wrestling, which I think is almost a compliment.
Well, I mean, that's what makes the wrestling business the wrestling business. And that would be the negative in 2004, where they just wanted the bland creative wrestlers at the same time. So Rip might have had a short shelf life, or they might have thought he was a comedy actor. He was too eccentric backstage or whatever. Yeah, but I've heard that quote, and I don't know exactly what that means. And the fact that Mick didn't go into great detail might be better left unsaid, maybe.
There's two famous quotes, really, that are either attributed to Rip or he popularized them to a point. One of them is his disgust of WWF or WWE style wrestling. And he would describe it as seen on TV wrestling, where people see the moves, but they don't want to learn or don't understand the basics of why the moves matter or how to make moves matter. And I always thought that was something I've stolen, is as seen on TV style wrestling. And especially, I guess, in the 2000s, mid-2000s, when you've got all these Diva Search types and, maybe some of the people from Tough Enough or whoever who just see wrestling as a way to be on TV, but don't understand or have an affinity for the business kind of thing. I mean, he'd be pulling his hair out, having to train some of these guys and girls, I'm sure.
Well, I remember when I was there, that was when the magazine models, like the Victoria, what was her name? Alicia Fox, but her real name was Victoria Crawford. The Kelly, other girls were coming down there to train. And I know Rip was just like, oh my God, they're bringing models down here. You can imagine the old school versus new school way of doing things. But I guess we updated that saying of as seen on TV to, what would be cool? That's kind of the same exact thing right there. He's not wrong. The why and the why not, the when and when not to do, there's your basis on really putting any match together. They ignore that and go to as seen on TV, and it would be cool, and it's the beginning of the end right there.
One more thing that he posted on Twitter some years ago, and then Randy Orton quote tweeted him. Now, I think Rip said he didn't come up with it, but he was the first wrestler to post it, so he's sort of it's attributed to him somewhat. So here's the quote. Every indie match now. Handshake. Drawn out move exchange. This is awesome chant. Strike exchange. Dive. No sell indie strong style. Dive. More strikes, no sells. Dive. Flippy floppy sequence. Dive. Hit everyone with each other's finishes, then Humpty Dumpty we all fall down. Fight forever chant. Rinse and repeat until every move is useless and means nothing. Dive. Take unsafe shot that looks like shit and hurts like hell, then roll up finish. Handshake and hug after match, everyone's hands raised, all these guys chant, go home and type on social media thanking your opponents and company for the match and telling others they should book these guys. Dive.
Well, my assumption is that Rip Rogers did not watch All In. Because it was 5 hours.
He did put for 6 hours.
5 hours, 56 minutes. Let's be fair. 5 hours, 56 minutes of everything he just said.
Can we say I would have liked that pay-per-view so much more if I hadn't been immediately put in a bad mood knowing it was 6 hours in advance? Yeah. Because now it just feels like a slog straight away. If you're watching it live and you don't know how long it's going to be, I bet it would have been a different experience.
No, it wasn't a different experience because I was like, when is this entrance going to end? And of course, I played
With the Young Bucks on the boat.
I played a full game of NFL 2K5 during their entrances. Not during the match or the show, but their entrances. And I can only assume that Rip Rogers would not have watched that for 6 hours.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Rip?
No, I mean, Rip's a necessary trainer in the business. He's a necessary, how should I say, a holdout of the way things used to be and used to produce the results of a Randy Orton, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and a host of other wrestlers. There's never going to be another OVW. OVW exists now, but not in the vein it did in 2004 during what people say would be the golden age, those names I just mentioned. That's never going to come again because WWE has now completely owned not only their developmental territories, but the entire independent wrestling promotion landscape with the WWE ID. We are now going to get cookie cutter, same wrestlers. When said wrestler gets released, injured, in trouble, whatever, we can plug another one in. It just looks just like him and nobody knows the wiser.
And Bubba Ray Dudley can scream at them.
I have not watched, outside of what you saw, you showed me, I've never watched one of it. Now, Rip Rogers would be really good on that show.
You couldn't air it. Like, it'd just be one long bleep.
Well, you couldn't air it if Bubba talked the way Bubba really talked to most of these guys. How's that? He's really good at cleaning it up, but Bubba's an F-bomb guy. Maybe not a Rip Rogers level one, but who is?
And how can we talk about, the owners and the main people in OVW without talking about Jim Cornette? Now, I'm trying to think the first time you would have met Jim Cornette. It wouldn't have been in ECW because I think you'd just broken your neck when he came over for a couple of shots.
Yeah, it wasn't even that show. It was after I was already gone from ECW. They did the Lawler and Cornette angle with the lights off, lights on, and Dreamer. That's where Lawler got Dreamer and literally hit him in the testicles and ruptured his testicle.
Had to drain blood out of them, I believe.
Yes, I'm sure, Tommy. He may have drank in the blood afterwards if you looked at some of those WWF vignettes way back in the day where you'd pick up the urinal cake out of the urinal and eat it.
Yeah, I hated him for that. I still very occasionally think about that and hate Tommy for...
You're talking about like with Undertaker with the chew? And
with the tobacco juice.
He goes, this was actually pretty good. Pop. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that should have made Undertaker like the biggest babyface in the world. That was grim.
Glad to remind you of it.
Yeah, thank you. Cornette, then. So did you meet him first in OVW?
I'd have to say I met Cornette at an autograph signing sometime before, or right before the time I went to WWF at the time in '99, or not long after that. There was a time I knew Jim before I went to OVW. And obviously you say Jim Cornette, Rip Rogers, Danny Davis, and probably a host of other people that I never saw behind the scenes. This was definitely a team effort of everybody with the same vision. If it was people plugged in with different visions, and we can get to that because the vision of WWE at the time started to kind of conflict, which is a pattern that's developed not only here, Deep South, FCW, to a degree, a little bit of NXT. It feels like they try to run independently of WWE. I should say more notably, WWE doesn't care. They're running their thing. But there comes a point where there is friction and there's head-butting over creative. And then, of course, Cornette is famous for saying, we booked this guy in an angle here. We let the office know, Nick Dinsmore, Doug Basham, especially Doug Basham. We have him an angle. He looks like this. You bring him up there and you just shave Doug Basham's head to see what it looks like. Then he's got to go back on OVW TV and it's all messed up. And that was the basis for Cornette's frustration. But getting back to him and being around him, Jim Cornette, he has a special place in my career history because September 10th, 1988, Midnight Express versus Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. I've told this story before in the WSI interviews. That was the night and that match. Midnight Express, U.S. Tag Champs, Tully and Arn, NWA World Tag Team Champions. This was a house show at the Civic Center in Philadelphia. Cornette's obviously the manager. Midnight Express are babyfaces. And they win the tag team titles. They unify, not so unify, but they collect the world tag team titles while they still have the U.S. tag champs or the tag titles as champions. And I walked home from the Civic Center that night saying, I want to be a professional wrestler. You fast forward years, and this is why I think it was at a convention or a signing because I approached Jim and very respectively said to Jim, hey, I want to tell you something, that you might not know. And I mentioned all that stuff. And I go, you're a part of the reason that I decided to become a professional wrestler. And he grabbed my shoulders and shook me. And he said, do not blame me for that. And our other joke was every time I saw him after that, and he had moved back to Kentucky from Stanford, remember how much he liked Connecticut? I always go up to him and I go, hey, I just got a text from JR. He said he needs you to move back to Connecticut. Get over here. He tried to play choke me. So no slaps, though.
No. Well, you weren't Santino Marella.
That's true. But who is?
No. With Jim, was he just basically a jack of all trades for OVW then? Because I'm assuming he was booking. I'm assuming he was giving direction to everybody.
Well, let's look at it this way. I think jack of all trades because his experience, he's one of the owners of the company. Like I said, Danny Davis, Rip Rogers. I think Rip was mainly just training. But of course, he had creative output because if somebody's not ready, you're not going to plug them into TV matches and programs and angles and storylines. Jim also resides in Louisville, Kentucky. So his connections for sponsorships, for collaborations, to get buildings, to book, you put the Jim Cornette name locally there, running a wrestling promotion, you kind of already got your foot in the door. Danny Davis, another one, resident there for however many decades. Between the two of them, you could really have a business. And for a while, they were a full-time wrestling company. And I'm not so sure about today, but I know Al wanted to make it another full-time wrestling company with TV.
He wanted to make it a WWE Developmental again. I don't know why WWE wouldn't go for it. Is it just because it wouldn't be 100% under their control?
I believe that the OVW is better at training wrestlers to become professional wrestlers in WWE than WWE itself. And you can't have that. They're God. You can't go higher than that. They know everything. And I do believe also Al's at a point in his life and career where he wants to do it his way and make it on his own. So I'm not sure what they do now, but I know they have a lot of collaborations. I know one thing that Al did that was one of the most, how should I say, one of the most positive things you can do for a wrestling school. He got accredited. So it's a trade school now, it's a vocational school. It's something that gives legitimacy. I think you qualify for student loans and grants and stuff. It's recognized in the state of Kentucky as an actual educational institution, as it should be. So he's evolved OVW more into the real world and getting the benefits of the real world with the wrestling school, the TV product and everything. And I think the way Al thinks is if I can get every piece of this company to have legitimate credibility in the real world, it's only going to bring more sponsors, more people, and of course, more students and people I can create wrestlers out of.
Going back to Jim, so early 2004, I think John Laurinaitis, if he's not Senior Vice President of Talent Relations or whatever the thing was, he soon would be, and he was working under Jim at this time. Was it obvious any frustrations Jim was having with WWE or Johnny interfering with OVW business?
I mean, if you know Jim Cornette, he's not going to wait until he's pulled aside in a room or he goes into a room privately to give his feelings, especially about Johnny Ace and the WWE. And that was part of the thing I was talking about. Developmental has a pattern of they start out and it's big cooperation and collaboration between WWE and the independent or WWE and the developmental territory. But I feel like not egos, but business plans and all that stuff, maybe a little bit of ego and pride get in the way. And that's when people start butting heads. And Cornette's very much a type A personality, a person that needs to be in control, has a vision, goes with it. And that's why pairing him with Danny and Rip was perfect. You have three people with like minds and like visions. But then Cornette's always been criticized for not wanting to evolve. And that's a trick word too. Some things like with wrestling, it evolves in a different wrapper, a different presentation. But the good guy versus bad guy, the storylines and everything have always been rehashed with your basic blood feud, title run, Cody's story. These are all very old school Memphis and before type of presentations. You just put a new coat of paint on them. And I don't think WWE and Jim Cornette ever got to that middle ground where they understood we both want the same thing, but we're just completely on opposite ends of the spectrum about how to do it.
Apart from you winding him up about sending him back to Connecticut, how would he interact with you, or what would his role be interacting with you, would he give you the finish of the matches you were having? Because I know you'd wrestle, I can find 4 matches, John Hennigan and Standing Thunder. I don't really know Standing Thunder, his name. But you had a couple of matches in 2004, and you lost both of them as well. So, I mean, you were gracious enough to say, you know, you could have just said, well, I'm WWE, you know, I've been there for many years, ECW, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I'm more than happy to lose. So who's coming up to you? I'm presuming Jim would say, would you mind?
No, I went up to Jim. I went up to Jim and Danny and said that. Like everybody else who ever came in, and, you know, the whole thing was about putting these people over to set them up for success in WWE. And the John Hennigan match, that's the one that kind of birthed, in a way, Eminem, because Joey Mercury was involved in that match as well. And I did a Jim Cornette finish for Jim Cornette in that, to do that. Do we get right into it now?
Oh, for the Eminem thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. 'Cause, yeah, I've got a couple more follow-ups with Jim, but yeah, why not?
Okay, so like the beauty about that, and that's why I really did go to developmental, besides helping the talent out, creative control, I could do things my way. Sure, they would like for me to put these guys over, no big deal. I went to them first and volunteered, and I asked, can I do it this way? So I was doing stuff with John Hennigan. We brawled on the outside. He had just, either he and Mercury or him alone, had injured somebody, or they did something where they blinded. It's like they did it like an injury angle with somebody. And I came out and I started off hot on John, beating him up, putting him into the announce table, took out a mop and threw it in his face. And like, right, you know, did all the like little bit of ECW stuff without being too out there. We only went outside for a little bit. But the finish of the match was your classic Memphis hot coffee thrown in my face by Joey Mercury. And ended up getting rolled up by John Hennigan. But I did say before that match that these two guys were working together. They said they wanted to team up. They were hoping to be a team. For all I know, WWE already knew that they were going to team them up. I don't know. But I was trying to present what they wanted to be on WWE TV together. It's like one of those things of, oh, hey, you're already together as a tag team. You're going to be a tag team. Ha. So we'll mix both of them together for everybody out there. So it wasn't like I said to Jim Cornette, these guys are going to be Eminem and they're going to wear fur coats and, oh, that girl Melina, make them the manager. And all. It was just kind of dropping the hint to let WWE think it's their idea to put them together. That was my little trick. John and Joey were awesome to work in every regard. Never got to work Joey in a full match, but John was really, really talented.
Even in 2004, because I think for a while he was pegged as, you know, the tough enough guy, like Maven was.
He's pegged as kind of goofy and just doing the flippy flops and everything like that. But when you present it with the entrance and the Eminem gimmick, and then, of course, he did the, you know, John Morrison, which basically Jim Morrison music and the Doors and stuff, and recreating that, his moveset was always the same. So it just proves if you can connect the character and care about them, love them, hate them, they don't have to change much about the actual wrestling they're doing.
A couple more things about Cornette before we move on. Was his general demeanor in 2004, 2005 might be a different story, actually, but in 2004, he's, for what most people will imagine, he's a caricature, you know, he's always, you know, bright red, about to explode kind of thing. But is he actually just mostly easy to get on with and generally happy to be around?
I would probably put him in a Rip Rogers category. If you understand the personality, you're fine. If you take it too personal, if you take the presentation too personally, or you think he's yelling at you or whatever, he might be yelling at you, but you have to listen to the actual message that he's given and the education or the tips. And I've always gotten along fine with him. He would make an ECW joke here and there, and I would turn around and say, I'm not telling you to do it, but have you ever seen my stuff? I wear Daisy Dukes in a half shirt, dude. Do you really think I'm a garbage wrestler? You know? And then it's like, funny doesn't make money. And I was like, okay, well, you might have a point there too. Although the BWO...
He came from Memphis.
Okay, although I said to him, well, those BWO t-shirt sales say different. And he goes, but you never saw a dime of it. I was like, okay, we're even here. Okay, let's agree to disagree on things.
I like that funny doesn't draw money, but he was from Memphis, which was one of like the biggest comedy... I mean, it was all funny though. You know what I mean? It was like organically funny rather than, you know, like contrived nonsense funny, but... Yeah, Memphis is one of the funniest territories out there.
Yeah, I don't know if do you think that was the basis, just off topic but on topic since it's Jim. We're talking about Santino Marella, which everybody knows the story. Do you think that's why he had such a problem with Santino and just didn't like him because he always said funny don't make money?
Okay, the story is for people who don't know, is that he slapped Santino Marella because he was like in the beginners class in OVW at the time. He might have even still been playing like a Russian or something as a character. And he was barely on... I'm not sure he was on TV at that. OVW TV. He might have just been a trainee. Anyway, the Boogyman was rushing through the crowd. Everybody else knew to, be scared and run away or, don't hurt me kind of thing. And Santino just sat there just smiling or whatever he was. And then Jim Cornette was so upset he slapped him. And then a call to HR, and then Jim Cornette had to go or sell his shares to Danny Davis. So I think, an elephant doesn't forget, and that's why he doesn't like Santino.
Oh, that's a bit more. There's a lot more stakes than just say funny don't make money with that. You're right. But I would dare say then the Boogeyman becomes one of the most beloved kids act in WWE history, where the kids are all smiling at Boogeyman in the crowd.
No, but I tell you, if Tommy Dreamer was disgusting, that worm eating thing, man.
How in the world did I ever get out of that? Especially when, especially
he wasn't in ECW at the time, though, was he? Or was he?
No, but I worked him on the house shows. He was in WWF, WWE. Remember those house shows where he blew his knees out and I had to give myself the finish?
No.
I told you that story.
Tell me again.
We worked house shows up in the Northeast, and this might have been the same loop where Goldberg was yelling at the soda machine and Tommy Dreamer corrected the soda machine. We're going to get to that theory with Charles Robinson in a few minutes. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the landscape of working the Boogeyman, and I'm like, I got to eat the worms. But on the house shows, they didn't bring the worms. What he did was we worked 2 shows. The first show was the first house show we worked. He literally just, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't very good. So the next night I took care to say, when we do this, and then we're going to, I was trying to walk him through it. We rehearsed it. There was a move where he was going to throw me in. I was going to take the Brian Pillman, throw it across the railing off the apron. The first thing he did was he shook me like this, like the Jim Cornette play choking when I said, you're moving back to Stanford. And he did this, and he was supposed to kind of launch me so I could turn and take the Brian Pillman. He did this, and then he went and turned around. Didn't even do anything. He just went like that. And I go, Marty, come back and throw me into the railing. Bad move. Choke, choke, choke. Whoa! He launched me as fast as I hit my stomach across the railing, and I'm folded over. I peeled to the floor, and the fans, I'm a heel, by the way, the fans duck down underneath or through the railing and say, oh, Stevie, are you okay? I'm so sorry. My God. Like they're literally like, oh, actually, I think the first night was a double count out. The first night might have been a double count out. I'm not sure. But this, I wish this was. The second night, that happens. Then I get back in the ring. He's beating on me. And he did a thing where he would spell his name as he stomped and jumped around the ring. So he did B with the 1. Oh, and then he jumped up with both for the second O. And when he landed, he went, oh my God. And he fell down onto his ass. Like Vince McMahon when he blew his quads out. So we're double down, yet I never touched him. Then I turned to him, I go, Marty, you okay? Oh, I blew both my knees out. I go, oh, we got to take it home. I stand up with him underneath me, like writhing in pain, grabbing his knees, grab his hands, put him on my throat, stand him up. He's like janky because his knees are buckling. I jump up in the air as I'm holding his hands, give myself a back bump, and then he falls. Then I drag his arm over on top of me and pin myself.
Man.
How many stars?
7.
For effort.
Oh, yeah.
7 taken away for execution. which I felt like I was getting executed that weekend.
Aha.
Aha.
Well done. Okay, I'm going to give you a test here. The 2 places you wrestled Boogeyman. This is on SmackDown house shows in July of 2005.
One of them had to be, I believe, Bangor, Maine.
That's the first one.
Second one is either Portland, Maine, or somewhere in Massachusetts.
No.
Where?
Vermont, Burlington.
Oh, that's right. You know what I remember about that? I was so mad because Burlington, Vermont, they started to jack up the hotel because during the fall season, the leafers, the people that go to Vermont to see the changing leaves, they had this was like the first year where they started jacking up the prices 2 months before, and I had to stay like 30 minutes outside Burlington. So I'm driving to Burlington knowing what awaits me on night 2 of the Boogeyman series. Yeah.
Apart from that, was he stiff in general with his punches and kicks, or was it just, that awful throw where he got a bit too excited?
And Marty was either there to a point where you felt it, but it didn't hurt you, or he completely missed because he was so like hide and right, like I don't want to hurt this guy. And that's why I said to him, I think, please don't keep reminding yourself not to hurt me because Murphy's Law will say, you're going to hurt me. Please don't do. How many people have I wrestled where they had to psych themselves up not to hurt me for a match? It's nuts.
Yeah, but it all seems to be in like a 6-month. Did Chris Masters do it? Because just before the Boogeyman, you've got an entire series with Chris Masters, I can see.
Yeah, I mean, my career. They strapped such a rocket to me that year. It was just incredible. That's the only thing they didn't do was strap a rocket to me and launch me into space.
Oh, you could have been Max Moon 2, the sequel.
If I had neck problems before you put all those big things on me, I'd have a lot of issues. Conan was the original Max Moon, by the way. Little Easter egg.
He was.
He was.
He was.
Yes.
For weeks, and he had to carry around all that plastic stuff that, because the original Max Moon thing, I've got to follow it with Boogeyman. There was like loads of like almost like Iron Man stuff that he had to carry around with him and like strap onto himself, then take it off afterwards, and that was causing issues.
Didn't he have like a huge custom kind of like a garment bag where it all hung up and he had to?
Oh, did he?
I'm not sure. What are you gonna? You can't put that stuff in a bag. There's no special case for it. What are you gonna do?
I guess so. With Boogeyman, or when he was still Marty, I guess at the time, Tough Enough, and you know what I'm gonna say when he goes, "How old are you? 30. How old are you? 30. Now, how old are you really? 40. Okay, well we don't like liars." And
that's my favorite WWE line of all time.
Yeah,
that ages so well.
Well, why did they hire him straight afterwards then?
Because it's WWE. They had to look like they were the ethical voice in the room. Then they turn around and go, we can draw some money with this guy. That's the thing. You say Rip Rogers is too weird for the business. Marty was a pretty weird guy too.
Well, on screen he's eating worms like it isn't a problem and that kind of thing. Was he a bit off screen as well then, I suppose?
We're all a bit off. Everybody's insane in wrestling, but he was more of the harmless, eccentric type thing, not the person where you're like, I may not want to come to work this weekend because that might be the week he goes and snaps. Never felt that way. A little bit with Heidenreich. I felt a little like he was on the verge of snapping. But no, Marty, when he found his groove as the Boogeyman, and that's what I'm saying, like with that, people can say, well, it's just the same stuff. He comes out, he puts the clock over his head, there's smoke, beats his opponent, makes him eat worms. But people never got tired of it. And every Halloween, I think WWE's on the verge or does call him to do the Halloween show. They should.
He's 60 now. And WWE
no, he's not.
is
He's
still
30.
Out occasionally.
He's 30.
Oh, we don't like lies and 60. God damn, I thought he'd wrestled Orange Cassidy. No, Sean Casey. I'd misread something. No, he has wrestled Orange Cassidy. Amazing.
Pockets versus worms. This is something else.
I know.
Damn,
Rhode Island, 2019.
We should make Cornette watch that.
He, you email him. In fact, actually, just because we're going to briefly go back and Cornette, one more thing I had to ask is, so 2004 is one thing, 2005 is just before he gets fired, or around about the time not fired, but, told WWE won't work with OVW anymore, and then, they have a relationship for a few more years. Were you there when Paul Heyman was there? Because there was a very brief period where there was a crossover between the two.
No, I wasn't there because I remembered. I was there briefly when Punk was there in the very beginning. But when Punk started to rise to prominence in OVW because he was Paul's pet project, and that continued where he was a real life advocate for Punk in WWE with the new ECW moving forward. But I may have been passing, but at this point, like I've said in the previous ECW episode, even if he was there and he was right in front of me, he might as well be 1,000 miles away because we're not talking.
Okay, so one more thing I want to mention about OVW. You turn up there again a couple of times in 2005, and for the life of me, I can't remember who you wrestled at first. But the name I wanted to talk about was Paul Burchill, lone appearance somewhere in the middle of 2005. I've even lost the date at this point, but whatever. In the spirit of RF video, what are your memories of working with Burchill, P?
Well, also, I want to put in context, too, that Nova, Mike Bucci, Simon Dean, was already super high on Paul Burchill and giving me a very good recommendation about the match, and you're going to have fun, and he's definitely a future star. And in this dark match, I saw that. I asked myself a question afterwards that unfortunately somebody in WWE might have been reading my thoughts, because I was like, how can WWE mess a guy like this up? And they did. One of the most talented guys you could be in the ring with on a developmental level that had the it factor. And like you said, in there, 6'4", 240, doing shooting star presses, so athletic, didn't need to do any of that stuff. And I don't think we did any of that stuff in our match, a very basic dark match, which is what you want to warm the crowd up for the TV taping. But yeah, I saw the talent back when I worked him in the dark match. And then I saw that talent get completely wasted as he swung in from a rope as a pirate. And then an ancestral brother. I was like, how can they get worse than this? On both ends.
He comes in as the tag partner of William Regal. So you think, right, they're taking this guy seriously, or at least trying to break him in at a decent level. Then all of a sudden he's a pirate. And he somehow made that work. Because of
the Johnny Depp Captain Jack Sparrow gimmick. I think he was trying to play on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reasoning was just so facetious. It's like, oh, well, I've decided to leave William Regal and celebrate my pirate heritage. Like somehow, what are some of the websites? The genealogy websites or something. So he sent his blood in and found out that he was related to Blackbeard the pirate, like they'd have his DNA, ancestry or whatever, but ancestry, that was one of them. And somehow that was okay. I was going to say, he mentioned Palmer Cannon. I mean, there's a character from the past as well, where it needs to belong. And then the incestuous thing. He was in WWE for probably 5-6 years if you include developmental. And those are the two things you got out of someone who was really talented. Incest, pirate.
Well, this is an educated guess, but I think those were Vince McMahon ideas. Possibly. Hey, now in retrospect, we can assume they were Vince McMahon ideas, especially the second one.
So you know the story with Stephanie McMahon?
That Vince wanted to be the father of her child.
Yes.
So you're saying that it most definitely was a Vince McMahon idea to have two siblings being incestuous on TV.
Yeah.
And don't think that what you saw was probably thinking of the sponsors, somebody finally maybe not yes-manning Vince to death and saying maybe it's not a great idea to have, because I can see Vince having an Edge and Lita sex celebration with the brother and sister on TV. Can you?
Yes, I don't want to, but yes, I can.
Well, that's the Raw reunion show coming up soon.
I'm going to ask a totally rhetorical question here, but why would Vince do that to somebody who had so much upside? I mean, did he upset somebody? I don't get it.
That's the whole thing with you automatically think it might be punishment, and maybe 8 times out of 10, it is a punishment-based push. I know better than anybody else about those. But I really think he thought it would get over. There was a strange time. Look, we got the Boogeyman. We had other things. We have Dolph Ziggler on the horizon coming very soon. All these different things that touch on just weird presentations, whether it's sexual fetishes or other things that Vince, with one of his computer brains, wanted to put on TV. So I really do think maybe Vince McMahon saw Paul Burchill as a huge star, but he just needed that character that fit him. And dare I say, if you sat down with Paul Burchill, two of the things he would not say and lead with as far as presenting himself on TV would be a pirate and a part of an incest pair. Just my guess.
What's he like in real life then?
Very nice guy. Very limited experience outside of TV and obviously working this match in OVW. But Nova vouches for him on a professional and a personal level. They both live in Louisville, or they did live in Louisville during that time. So they got to be friends. And for all we know too, maybe the fact, I don't know the timeline with this, when Nova was in talent relations, because sometimes, let's go back to the JR Al Snow. I think that's the best precedent. If you're constantly pitching this guy, it actually could work against him. They're getting back at you, not getting back at the talent.
I also want to point out that you would wrestle Paul Burchill and then you would not have another match for 6 months. What the heck is CW? Lowell, Massachusetts. Arch Kincaid. So you wouldn't wrestle...
I did wrestle Arch Kincaid on CW, Chaotic Wrestling. They had a school up there that worked with WWE. That's where Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné came from. Up in that area, but not with that school. Kofi Kingston, other people, they had a working relationship. I also worked John Walters, RJ Brewer, on that show in a Singapore cane match. That is also, I believe, the same company where Vince McMahon did the run-in on John Cena.
Oh,
remember that?
Oh, right. So it's John Cena Sr. when he was managing up there.
Yes,
yeah.
He was a part of that show too. John Cena Sr. is a character. He's awesome. But he gave me a Cena buck. I think I still have it somewhere. I have to find it. So, but Arch Kincaid, one of the most, you want to talk about maybe too weird for the wrestling business? A very, very eccentric guy. Very cool, very nice guy, harmless, but very wrestling is full of weirdos. I'm a weirdo. Everybody is. Hey, you're a weirdo and you're a weirdo. You're going to wrestle at CW.
I thought you were going to say wrestle at sea. That would have been good. Right, I'll ask one more Burchill thing, then we'll have to move on. The pirate thing, fine. In a sense, yeah, it's out there, it's weird, like the Boogeyman and a load of other things, and Palmer Gannon bringing the minis and whatever nonsense. Some will hit, some will miss. There's no upside to having an incest storyline. That's what I don't get, because how's that helping Katie Lee? How's that helping Paul? And you're just wasting your own talent and your own television on TV time, not selling a single ticket to a future show with it. In fact, you're just going to put people off. So why?
You're asking me why? I have a better question for everybody out there. The bigger mystery is not that it made TV. The bigger mystery is who was able to have the power and the influence to stop Vince McMahon from taking it further than it already went. I want to know who that person is. And I also want to know, I can understand that basically maybe Vince thought, hey, if I put this out there, I can have the father of Stephanie's baby, because if they turn this one down, they can't turn this one down. So he was trying to, like my red herring, where I was pitching like really, really bad ideas where they ended up said, oh yeah, it's cool if you hit yourself in the head with a chair at WrestleMania 19, because I was throwing all the red herring ideas for them to turn down. That's the question is, who was the person that finally talked Vince into saying, this wasn't a good idea after all? That's the person I want to meet.
It probably would have been himself. Or he would have thought it was himself, and then would have blamed someone else for probably his own terrible idea, forgetting that he came up with it.
Do you want an Easter egg I didn't give to anybody out there during the Stevie Night Heat episode series that we did?
Sure.
Every single thing I did as GM of Stevie Night Heat was a direct rib on Vince McMahon. A direct rib of, like Goldust is suspended. No, I said, I'm wrestling Goldust next week. And that promo I sent you. And it was like, I was like, well, Stevie, you suspended Goldust. I'm lifting his suspension. I'm making a judgment calls to him of Stevie. That was Vince. If you told him, like, you're kind of contradicting yourself, I'm making a decision now. And everybody has to be like, oh my God, boss, that's so great.
There was something else I put in the script, so I'm going to scrub that out. We're going to save that for a future episode. Take a drink. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. We're going to launch forward to Florida Championship Wrestling. So I don't even know what year you're in FCW, but you were offered, or at least presented with the possibility of becoming a trainer in FCW. For people who don't know, after OVW, FCW, was that wholly owned by WWE, or was that like a Steve Kern-owned promotion, or what?
It was subsidized. Steve Kern, I believe, because he had told me when I went down there for that week that they invested this much money into the school. So I think WWE did that subsidizing thing. I got it back up because the birth of FCW is actually a funny story. And my buddy Ben Hameen gives me a firsthand account of what happened. Johnny came down, and everybody likes Johnny Ace impression, because they were planning on opening FCW up. And Johnny came there, and Hunter, I believe, also came there to let everybody know, because Johnny was like, hey, OVW's not going anywhere. OVW, you got a job for life here, which is the kiss of death. And Hunter was telling everybody that OVW is the standard bearer. We're keeping this. FCW is just another one. And they started taking 360 pictures of everything at OVW. Next thing they know, OVW's going away as far as being a developmental, and the exact setup within a smaller building is what they did for FCW.
Well, why didn't they work with OVW anymore? I mean, they got rid of Cornette. It was mostly working. Why did they just replicate it somewhere else?
I think they just wanted to start making cookie cutter wrestlers that they didn't need to pay. There was never going to be, at that point, they didn't say to Ryback, there's never going to be another John Cena, but I think they were trying to figure out a way to take all the power away from the talent, all the leverage, and we can just have factory wrestlers that we can pay and churn through, wash them out by the time they're 25 or 30, and start all over again.
So with FCW, what year is it that is this after TNA, or is this when you're still with WWE that you're sent down?
Oh, I'm still with WWE. I'm
right.
Still a full-time wrestler, but it's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. How much career do I have left in general, much less WWE? I'm kind of as stale as you can be. So they asked me to go down there. I went down there for about a week, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. There's other factors too. By the way, ego's involved. I still got a lot more offer in the ring to actually wrestle. I feel like, and TNA is starting to be a thing. So I'm like, I can go to TNA and reinvent myself, if not now, whenever they release me. My grandmother was really sick, and I was trying to reconnect with family as well and kind of like mend some broken fences. So moving to Florida when I lived in the Northeast would have took me completely out of any of the personal things I was trying to accomplish, and especially my professional wrestling career was essentially over at that point. There was no way I'm going to wrestle when I become a coach.
So what was the one thing? Because you mentioned working out with Dr. Tom Pritchard, and you said something involving that just made you think that this just wasn't going to be the job for you. It's nothing to do with Tom, is it?
It's nothing to do with Tom, but kind of everything to do with Tom and the interaction in that gym. We were at the gym, and they had upper floor cardio, lower floor weights, and stuff like that. So big surprise, I was going to do cardio, and Tom was next to me. I was on a recumbent bike, I believe. He was on the recumbent bike next to me. So it wasn't like we were standing. I was able to look at him and talk to him. But I just remember I was so excited about the opportunity, or making myself excited at that point about the opportunity, even with the couple hang-ups or things that I was thinking might not make it a good fit, wanting to continue to wrestle. And then, of course, the stuff going on with my family in Philadelphia. But I was trying to be excited and put my best foot forward and saying, maybe this is what I'm meant to do as my legacy, to leave for the next generation. And I remember talking to Tom, and I was super excited, and he was super subdued and borderline negative about it. Like, it's just like this. And he was trying to almost, in a way, I felt like talking me out of it. You know, like, no, this is just, nah. And I'm like, well, how do you like it here? It's okay, I guess. I think it was the veteran locker room smoking a cigarette, putting, let me say, lock up, kid. Kind of like that. And I remember walking away like, there's got to be something I'm not seeing. Maybe I just got the rose-colored glasses on, and Tom's dropping hints that this thing's a complete mess. I don't know. I just got a very negative impression about the developmental system and FCW specifically when I walked away from that cardio section, and I said, nah, I'm not going to do this. And that's sort of like sealed the deal for it.
So was there anything else that put you off, or did you just get that vibe that it just wasn't going to work then?
I got the vibe even from Steve Kern. It was like, there's nothing to be excited about here. There's nothing, like, the talent seemed kind of like not very like into being there. I mean, maybe because they transferred from OVW and they were loyal to that. There was a whole bunch of, it felt very chaotic and unstable. And of course, it's a ground floor thing. They're trying to find their footing. And eventually they did to some point. But yeah, I mean, I actually have a Bret Hart story too. I think I told you about this.
I think you did, but you might as well throw it in there. Why not?
Bret didn't know me from anybody, and that's fine. But it was just kind of funny, and it took me off guard, and then I took Bret off guard. I had a big thing of like Arizona diet green tea because I was talking and my voice was going, dude. That was another thing. How can I coach them when my voice is on a pitch count? Like even on this show, we got to take breaks because my voice starts to go. So I'm drinking the tea. Bret comes up to me, and I just recall the way he talked. It was like, it almost reminded me of Stu Hart. Just very like the same kind of accent and everything. And he's like, that green tea will do it every time, huh? And I was like, yeah, I needed my voice and everything. And he goes like, so how long you been training? I said, about 18 years. And then we just walked away.
So you just both just turned around and just walked off at the same time.
And I remember Cole Cabana was there, Scotty Goldman, and that double sealed the deal because he was completely miserable there. And I was like, I think I'm going back. I think the locker room in WWE is a lot better. I'm a lot more familiar with that. The devil you know type stuff. Let me go back to being a full-time wrestler and getting murdered every week. And hopefully some kid named James Romero is just enjoying this murder hour of my match every week. Thank you.
Why did Colt not like it?
Maybe because they called him Scotty Goldman to begin with, and they took everything Colt Cabana away from him.
That will do it. Right. There's one thing I didn't put in the script, and I meant to do it, and this is a more serious thing. You weren't obviously with WWE at the time that Bill DeMott was ousted from his training because he was doing it for NXT, I think, and he was a trainer for WWE for years and years and years, and he was head trainer for a while as well. He was basically thrown out. It's almost like a pre-Me Too movement, I guess, in, I don't know, 2012, 2013 or something like that. I don't know, but quite a lot of wrestlers who trained under him basically were not happy with some of the things he was saying, a few of the things he was getting other people to do. Other people would defend Bill to the hilt and say, it's more of the boot camp mentality and stuff. But then we get into the 2010s and that's, I guess, less tolerated. Someone on Reddit has helpfully said it basically comes down to three things. One, he's been accused of berating, insulting WWE trainees with politically incorrect language. Some examples include repeated use of the term and for a gay person, or a meatball in the UK, telling a black wrestler to go back to Africa, telling a Middle Eastern trainee to go back to building bombs, and more. Secondly, DeMott has been accused of intentionally, I haven't got my glasses, causing or trying to cause injuries amongst the trainees or making existing injuries worse through neglect or maliciousness. And thirdly, the strength and conditioning coach, Matt Wichlinski, has been accused of repeated counts of sexual harassment and not suffered any disciplinary action for doing so. This is allegedly due to DeMott being unwilling to take action against him. Okay, so I'm sure you heard of all these accusations and more at the time. I specifically remember the big one that was making all the wrestling news websites was that he would say if you want to go home early, you had to like shove a donut up your arse, or someone had to eat it out the crack of someone's bum or something like that. Weird games like that, I guess, as well.
I have heard the donut story, and I kind of like didn't want to hear the rest of it. Now I just did. This is a very skewed version of like the NFL. Hey, if you who don't like catch punts are basically fourth down, the punter punts it, and the person catches and returns it. They would normally put somebody way back there that normally doesn't field punts. If you catch this, we go home early. That's a fun way of like ending the day. This donut thing, not so much fun for anybody. Well, maybe, who knows? It's wrestling. But I do remember, and Johnny Swinger was kind of my little informant down there because he was down there in Deep South. And one of the most egregious things, by the way, I was friends with Bill for years, if not decades. I was in his wedding and along with Al Snow, kept in touch with him through the years off and on. And, he went through a lot of tragedy after this. So let's not, forget that as well. I would not wish that on anybody, especially somebody like Bill. But at the same time, this is where the developmental territory, thinking they're a separate independent promotion competing with WWE, started to fester with Bill DeMott, with Jody Hamilton in Deep South Wrestling, thinking it's, they literally said, and I'm not only Swinger, but other people, it's us against them. And Swinger's like, they're subsidizing, they're paying you money to run the business. You know what I mean? So already they had a skewed way of looking at them as an auxiliary promotion to WWE, developmental, not a competing one. But also what Bill would do, and what I heard from Swinger and other people, not just him, it's not a one-size-fits-all training regimen for Johnny Swinger and the great Khali to be doing 500 Hindu squats, to be running cardio, to be doing all this stuff. That's where it got egregious, where, like you said, Khali's knees were already shot before he got into developmental, but you're making him put more impact, and you're essentially burning him out before he even gets to the main roster. Let them burn him out, not you. And that's what I think it was. The boot camp mentality does work with 18-year-old kids coming in, and you got to get their wind up and you got to do this, but it's not meant outside of maybe the humbling phase to make sure, hey, you're a big college athlete, but this is totally different. You have to, it's a very thin line that I think now at the Performance Center, they may have erred too much on the other side of it too. There needs to be some moderation in the middle. But yeah, Bill, for whatever intention he had to toughen them up and to break people in the right way, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing when you come into that, especially in the time we're talking about.
WCW's power plant, so I'm presuming Bill may have spent some time there. I don't know. I know he was on the Indies and even in Japan, I think, all through the 90s. Crashed the Terminator, I think his name was at the time. But I always think of the power plant as the archetypal way to not train people. Because how many people walked through those doors that they ran off? I mean, they ran off Batista. They ran off Chael Sonnen. They ran off tons of people. They made a Goldberg. Did they really? I mean, they barely taught him anything, ultimately, apart from the absolute basics.
Well, you taught Goldberg that it's a shoot. That's what you told him.
And vending machines everywhere. All over the country.
The vending machines are smart enough to avoid the power plant in Deep South Wrestling. That's why the soda machines are undefeated.
But in my mind, I was like, the Dwayne Bruce way of, screaming in the face is making you do push-ups till you puke kind of thing. Well, what's that proving? Nothing. I mean, apart from the fact that you might just want to, and this has happened in wrestling many, many times over wrestling in schools, affiliated with big companies and independent, is that you want to take the money and then run them off the first day kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's not exactly how you're going to keep your job at the power plant, because you're not feeding, really good. Now, they did have some good guys that came out of there, even with that all being said and done. But, man, when you talk about you missed a boat on a Batista, or Batista should thank his lucky stars because maybe it's better he just went straight to WWE Developmental. But a Chael Sonnen, who became like the biggest heel in MMA outside of Conor McGregor. dare I say, Conor McGregor took the blueprint from Chael Sonnen and then turned it up to 11. But yeah, that's what wrestling does. It's really weird how wrestling, even to this day, there's somewhere, it may be in the top 5, but it's not the number one thing in a wrestling company nor a wrestling school. And that is to build wrestlers to continually to make money for the longest amount of time. It's almost like a level of resentment sometimes with these trainers. If they see talent, they almost have to destroy it sometimes. Do you sense that?
I've never... There's right ways... The thing is, NXT, I wanted to just go back on something else you mentioned about the great Carly and his knees. There's been a spate in the last couple of years because they've got strength and conditioning charts and, deadlift and squat records and everything like that, that once again, in some ways, they're overtraining wrestlers, the performers, and everyone, especially the women, are getting busted ACLs and having to take a year off. So your point of overtraining and wearing them out before they even get to the main roster is very, as true today as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And I would look at that. I would look at PR chart, the leaderboard of, personal records of lifts. I would say, okay, this is the top 5 of people that are going to blow their knees and backs out or tear a pec or a bicep. There's such a thing as training hard. I mean, there's a Mark Henry who is just a freak and can be the world's strongest man twice in a span of 20 plus years, So there's people out there that can do it, but it also he's the world's strongest man. It's his gimmick that he needs to back up with credibility. But you don't need everybody to be the world's strongest whatever. You just need them to look like the world's strongest or fittest or... I don't get that, man. That strength and conditioning stuff in there, isn't it supposed to protect the wrestlers that are training so they have functional strength, not trying to compete with each other? It doesn't make sense.
Let's go back onto Bill DeMott then. I've got a list of accusations that various wrestlers who worked under him have leveled against him. I don't know if you want to hear any more of them or not. I'll leave that up to you.
And one of them was the Nick Mitchell guy that we talked about in the past. Is he quoted there?
Nick Mitchell?
One of the Spirit Squad guys. He was rough on that kid.
I will... I'll read a couple. I mean, I'll forego the ones about various language, inappropriate. There's other people who he told them to kill themselves after they paid their condolences to Mike Graham. Bill DeMott would break a yardstick over their back.
Wait a minute, back that up. Back that up. I'm sorry to interrupt. Wait a minute.
Yep.
His reaction to the Mike Graham thing, which was a suicide, correct?
Yes.
His reaction to tell these people that mourned his loss to do the same?
Yes. Bill DeMott, that was from Austin Matelson, who's Austin Draven, Judas Devlin in NXT. Derek Four, who was Chad Baker in NXT, said that he broke a yardstick over his back when he messed up. Ryan Collins, who's Brandon Traven, said more comments and stuff. Ryan Nemeth said about the strength and conditioning coach harassing female trainees that DeMott was an enabler and protector. Was there anything else? He also said that DeMott kicked Ryan in his cast when he had a broken leg. And I'm trying to think, there was Tara Calloway, there's Ricardo Rodriguez. What did Ricardo say? He said he talked about the number of trainees being injured suddenly going up, and when asked why, he joked, "Hey Bill," referring to DeMott. Anonymous female wrestler said, let me have a look, I'm just scanning through this, described a climate where everyone was afraid to speak up against DeMott for the sake of losing their jobs. This was the case with Rob McIntyre, the previous strength and conditioning coach, who Dave Meltzer explained was a scapegoat for many of the injuries and at least 2 divas, as well as a female advocate for talent relations. She also reaffirms the points about Judas' letter being mocked by DeMott. So apparently someone wrote a letter to HR. There's more. Kurt Hawkins, Drew Donovan, I can't even read her name. Joey Ryan, MVP, what's Bob Holly said? Holly states 2 former NXT students were there and said a few things that were not the exact same claims that were said against Bill. Sounds like he'd been doing it for a while. However, please note that Holly regards this as hearsay rather than confirmation. Mike Bucci said, there's a couple more, Rob Naylor and Kenny Omega will save to the end. Mike Bucci said Simon Dean stated that people were sick of Bill DeMott in Deep South as it was a period where DeMott was fired but kept coming in anyway. I didn't realise that. He also referred to DeMott as a bully who would stiff people in the ring and stated that although Kevin Matthews was not liked by a lot of people, what he said about Bill DeMott was true. We'd have to find out his comments. Rob Naylor, who was a creative assistant of NXT, Wrestling Observer Live in 2015 confirmed that DeMott's comments to be true, including the mockery of Davey Boy Smith's death. He said this occurred in front of 25 witnesses, so it was odd that WWE claimed they found no wrongdoing in a press release about thoroughly investigating the matter. And Kenny Omega said some time ago he discussed his time with WWE Developmental. I'm just going to scan through what he said, bear with. The problem with Deep South to me is that there was a group that were tight with the boss and they would always go out and drink and have barbecues, that when WWE would say, who should we look after? And Bill DeMott would say, oh, look at this guy and this guy. Of course, those are his buddies. So a huge amount of accusations leveled there by like 20 different people. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's no smoke without fire. At this point, even in the 2000s, let alone the 2010s, was Bill DeMott a dinosaur as far as how to train wrestlers in a corporate environment?
Well, yeah, apparently so. That's what the actions and all the stories. Nova had told me, he actually called me when he was driving to get the stuff out of Deep South, when they were going to basically not shut it down, but basically no longer be a developmental territory. And this has probably everything to do with that, is my estimation, is my speculation and educated guess. This is not the Bill DeMott I knew from ECW as Crash the Terminator, nor got to know him. He was an HWA. I told the story with him, Dreamer, myself, get on that bus and save a bunch of people. We bonded. Bill had always been a very laid back, fun guy to be around. Never really a bully at all, dude. As a matter of fact, I thought he was very easygoing where he could get bullied back then. I know people can't believe that with the stuff we just read. But this is like so out of character, or people change, or the wrestling business changes people, the power of this. But man, this is, and Mike, for Mike to say that, Mike was in talent relations. So Mike gets the direct word on what's going on with that and has a one-to-one or, no degree of separation in this, from the office to Bill and us communicating that as well. I don't think Bill and I, because I know I communicated them from time to time, not too often, not anywhere near as often as before he became a trainer at Deep South, but once in a while, and I don't think it's ever come up. It probably will now if he's watching these clips. But yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. And look at all the talents that we're looking at that have said basically the same thing. Bill's thing too, and I called him out on this. This is one of the last times I talked to him. He would make you do the international drill, the big drill, the up and overs, run you ragged in there, saying if you're one person and doing these bump drills and bull in the ring drills or whatever they are. And then Bill would come in and do what I called the beach whale and lay on top of you, and you had to try to get out from underneath them. So yeah, there was a certain weirdness about that where, like, why would you do that? If it's fun or you're just trying to like get in there, and if it was me, and I'm like, oh, I'm so blown up. And he would get in there and like kind of like amateur wrestle with me, but then let me go and just be like, got me, brother, or whatever. But man, this is what I say about the wrestling business. I don't know how many times I've said it and will say it. This stuff is hard enough as it is without having to make it more difficult. Great Khali, you take one look at him, you don't say, 500 Hindu squats and run 2 miles, and then we start training. I don't get it, man. And that's the golden goose, by the way. Jody Hamilton, Bill DeMott, and anybody in developmental has the golden goose. All you got to do is play along with them. Now, I give Al Snow credit in a way, Danny Davis, Jim Cornette with OVW, because their way of training was the chicken before the egg type scenario. They were training people to get people to WWE and on TV. When WWE took it over, dare I say it, they ruined and almost made it ass backwards, the developmental system, where people are worse when they get to the main roster rather than better.
We are going to be talking in a future episode, Take a Drink, or it might even be a YouTube exclusive, Stevie's curriculum of what he thinks WWE is doing wrong, or at least how Stevie would train someone from the ground up as well, so look out for that. But we can't talk about developmental without your very, very brief time as a guest trainer in WWE NXT. Are we talking 2016 or 2014? Around that time?
Well, 2014 was the ECW Unreleased Volume 3, I believe. 2014, 2015. I think this was 2016 or 17, because I was with my wife. We were together. I remember that because that week is long when you're with somebody you want to spend every day with, and then you got to go away for a week. So I do remember that it was somewhere after 2016.
So give us the whole lowdown. How long were you there for? Just a day, weekend, week?
A week, Monday through Friday. Then I had to go work for Wildcat Sports. That's a funny story, to put a pin in that. So basically, I don't think I even got a call. I might have got a text or an email from Matt Bloom, or it might have been Terry Taylor to let me know that they wanted me to come in for a week. And it might have been Terry because Terry was getting surgery, and I only saw him for a brief moment before I even went to the PC, Performance Center. So technically it was NXT, but it wasn't the NXT like I was involved with producing the TV taping or agenting. It was just a house show or a live event. So I communicated with Matt. By the way, this is another example, just to be completely honest. Bill DeMott and I were really tight at one time, really easygoing, really laid back. Matt Bloom and I, because we worked a lot of stuff, especially when I was Dude Love, I worked him at Georgia Dome on a Sunday Night Heat. We were very friendly, but he had changed. There was a different dynamic here as being the head of developmental. It was very, very weird. Like he acted like he didn't know me anymore. And I was therefore reacting like, I don't know who you are either, dude. So we were going back and forth with this. And then finally I said to him in the email or the text exchange, hey man, I just want to let you know, I'm booked on Wildcat. Is there any way when you fly me in here that you can fly me out to New Orleans and I can try to get Luke Hawks to fly me one way from New Orleans back to where I live? And he's like, oh, do you want red M&Ms in your thing too or any other stuff in your rider? I said, well, that's actually not a bad idea. And he never answered that. I thought he'd like LOL or something because I was like agreeing. Yeah, I have a few more demands as well. So when we got the money and everything worked out, then the flights and all that stuff, I remember getting to the Performance Center. Now, I had not even, by the way, nobody told me when to show up. They're already testing me. I go, when do I show up? He's like, oh, we usually start somewhere between like 8 and 11. You're setting me up to fail already. So I got there at like 7:45, very much earlier than I was supposed to. So I'm already being tested. I walk in, I go through the hallway with all the pictures and everything. By the way, the front desk person, very nice, knew I was coming and everything. Usually it'd be like, what are you doing here if there's miscommunication? So walk in, walk to the hallway, go around, I think to the right, to the left, I mean, and on the right side is Matt's office. I knock on the door. Matt comes up, gives me a big hug. He goes, dude, this place is awesome, isn't it? And I was like, well, dude, I've only been here 15 seconds. I just got here. Just saying like whatever. And then he sits down and he starts asking me all these like probing questions, like a Stooge question. And I can't remember what they were. I was just looking at him like, and I was like, well, I'm very excited to be here this week. Anything you guys need, whatever you need, I'm here. I want to contribute, put my best foot forward. I need your guidance because I have no idea how the system works. And I don't want to speak out of turn. He's like, this place is awesome, isn't it? I was like, you've already said that. So then he gets me up. I go out and in this one room, you have Adam Pearce, Sarah Del Rey, and a couple other people. Adam Pearce gives me the, hey, brother, without even looking at me. I'm already getting like big leagued in my mind. I'm like, okay, cool. Then somebody else came up to me. I think it was Ryan Katz. Very friendly guy, but somebody must have talked to him because after that, he was very, very subdued towards me. It was like, dude, this is the feeling I got from day one. It was like I never left WWE. They just felt like they were not valuing me being there, that I was not supposed to be there, or I was a burden, or some people might have been afraid of their spot, which I wasn't there to take anybody's spot anyway. So,
well, did they think it was
like
a tryout then for you as like a longer term thing?
It could have been, I don't know, but here's the thing. From that moment, everything they did and everything they said was to try and discourage me from even entertaining coming in as a coach. They were telling me no benefits, 6-month probation, and they literally said to me, 6-month probation, and you're probably not going to pass probation, which I was like, what does that even mean? No benefits, pay your own expenses, and you start out at like 40 or 45,000 a year.
Good.
So I'm like, this sounds amazing. I was very like over the top, like excited, sarcastic. Like, what are you going to say at that point? This is not even the first hour or two I was there.
So there was other people there, like I guess Norman Smiley. This is where you met Robbie Brookside, because you've
there's
said
a whole other positive side to this. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute then. Were you told what to teach the kids there, and who were your first class? Any standouts you remember?
I was not giving any direction. I was not taught. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, you go over there.
Oh really?
So I went over to the very, very beginners. That's where I met Robbie Brookside. And I said, please just give me whatever. I'm your assistant. That's what I said to him. He goes, no, I know about what, and he knew who I was and some of the things I have done. And I knew who he was, obviously. So he was in the class of the very, very beginners. We're literally teaching them how to go around the ring and not cross their feet and not even run the ropes or anything. It was very, very basic stuff. And I enjoyed that. Robbie did that. Norman, I think, touched in on that and did some other stuff. They did have like beginner classes, other stuff, but none of this was explained to me about who is who and who does what. There was no like, how should I say, even a curriculum or a pamphlet or any kind of orientation that I would need to know what to do. It was it felt very chaotic and fly by. It felt every bit like FCW did, but FCW like literally was in their first few months of existence.
With that being said, when did you start settling in slightly and getting into a bit of a groove? Never. So you just hovered around for a week, pretty much. It was exhausting. And these were 10, 12-hour days, not counting the live event that I agented one of the matches and got in trouble for the way I agented the match. We'll get into that. Okay. But it was very much like, if you ever start a new job and everybody's been there and you're coming in there and nobody's like guiding you, mentoring you, orientating you, giving you a lay of the land or anything, dude, you're exhausted by the end of the first day and don't know what the second day is going to bring. I felt like I never left WWE in 2008 and I was being treated the same exact way throughout this entire week. And that's fine. Who were the students, notable names that we might know, who impressed you in one way or another, or were particularly nice to you, or anything like that?
Otis impressed me, and he had another name back then, and that was the match I Asianed Otis. Before he was Otis, I forget what he was, but he did a Greco-Roman gimmick or something.
It could have been. It was Nico Bojevic.
Nico. So I don't know if that's his real name or not.
His real name is Nikola Bogojevic, basically. So yeah, I probably mispronounced it.
So he impressed me because he had a big personality and it showed. And even when he was training in the ring, he was doing all the Otis stuff and it was entertaining. And I got that. I remember meeting Asuka, but not even knowing anything about Asuka outside of whatever on NXT. I can't say really anybody stood out. I do remember, I'm trying to think who told me. Somebody pulled me aside early on. And I even if I remembered, I probably shouldn't say it, but I do not remember who it was, that the entire place is mic'd up and the entire place has cameras everywhere. To which I turned around, looked up at one of the cameras and said, "Hi, Hunter." Instantly.
Was Triple H...
And I was told the next day, do not wave at the cameras.
was Triple H in charge of NXT in 2017?
I believe so.
But he never turned up.
No, he didn't turn up there. It wasn't like, or maybe he did for the TVs. I don't know. But I do know I waved at the camera. The next day I was instructed not to wave at the camera. So, hi, Hunter.
It is very 1984, isn't it? What were some of the positives that came out of it then?
Probably the main positive was meeting Robbie Brookside. That was my number one takeaway of just an overall positive experience. I would say also I liked being in different gyms. That was a whole nother thing. I was working out in the gym and I had a UFC tank top. It was like this one, not an exposed, like the tops that expose your whole back or the, you know what I mean? It wasn't like you weren't wearing anything. I had a tank top like this. And Matt yelled at me that I wasn't allowed to wear a tank top. And all these girls are walking around in the tightest sports bras and the yoga pants. And even the NXT talent is shirtless or doing whatever. But I'm getting yelled at for wearing a tank top like this. So I changed and I put on the beefiest sweatshirt I could find. Came back just to make a joke out of it. It's like, whatever.
Is Matt...
Do you see how they were setting me up to fail as I didn't fit into this place?
Yeah.
Every single second was, you do not fit in. He got mad when he told them that. Like, Stevie told you that's what he made? Yep. 100%.
What else about the training? In fact, actually, before about that, do you think Matt's just completely part of the machine now, part of the system? Is he just brainwashed into the WWE way of thinking by that point?
Yeah, but then again, I've said it before. The infrastructure of the developmental system needs to completely change. If you have the percentage of people not making it that's a lot higher than the ones that make it, especially now with the NIL program and college athletes and outside people coming in, if you have that Olympic guy not be able to make it, dare I say it, it falls somewhat on the guy, but it falls mostly on the system.
Yeah, NXT went through an almost uninterrupted streak of not producing any major stars for many, many years. I mean, the occasional one, but like for 10 years of NXT, the first 10 years, they barely produced anyone, or at least maybe the first 6 or 7 years. And I guess it was just more of an FCW thing, where they were just churning out cookie cutter types to wrestle one specific way, the WWE way. Do you remember when Triple H, quite a few years ago now, was arguing about whatever indie workers or whoever was, I don't know if AEW was a thing at that point, or TNA or whatever, or Impact at the time. But he said, when you're in WWE, you play by the WWE playbook. And that was such a telling line. It's like, they don't want mavericks, they don't want renegades, they don't want people who can do things their own way just as effectively, if not more so. You have to go by WWE's playbook. Or you're wrong.
They can't even get over. They can't even get over. So the WWE playbook is producing a sub 20% conversion rate of success, if not less. And you're blaming the talent. It's like creative has nothing for you. Fire the writers. So this system here, I don't want anybody to lose their job or whatever, but I think the tea leaves have already spoken about the developmental system is not working the way it's supposed to work. Because you should have, they have NFL level facilities. That's one of the positives too. I was like, this is like the best gym ever. This is the best.
Did you have
training.
like the trampoline or like the training ring where they can do the flips and be relatively safe? Did you see that?
Well, they have crash pads and stuff like that, but they also, the beginner's class would be where they had a good thing to bring them along, but not in the way to, they were fragmenting the training. In other words, they classify categories, I guess, levels of knowledge or whatever, but it didn't speak when you went to one, like it just felt like everything was very compartmentalized in a bad way. Left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. And of course you had Matt Bloom and Sarah DeRay at the top. And obviously they've been there so long. It's a political thing to keep their job, not a results version. If they were producing stars, I would say, man, they're doing a great job. They're making money for the company, but it's got to be strictly political at this point, because what's NXT lose, or the Performance Center NXT? Last time I checked a long time ago, It was an average of a $25 million loss per year for that system.
Let's get to the producing of the TV match. So what happened? So was this on TV? Was it a dark match? And I know it featured Otis, as you said before.
It's a live event.
Right.
And I was really lucky to have the first match, which was the easiest match to wrestle, the easiest match to agent. Now, the way they would do things, and I think that's why there's such a disconnect and there's not like moments, natural, organic moments that happen in WWE or wrestling in general. We were going over the match earlier. Otis, and he wrestled. I'm sorry, I can't remember his opponent. I'm so sorry. But we were talking a match over, and we walked through it, like the blueprint of it. And I said, hey, guys, tonight, when you get out there, number one, and I even did the voice, hey, when you go out there, you have to have fun. And they laughed and they got it, because that's all Johnny would say. But I would say, you're the first match tonight. You're the easiest match. We don't have to do a whole lot. And by the way, you can just go out there and feel it, because what they did there, even on house shows, the ref has an earpiece, has an IFB. The agent is back there, me being the agent, with a microphone and headphones, watching the monitor, writing down and telling them the next move. Everything. I said, we're not going to do that tonight. I go, the true test, and by the way, in your first match, even if you mess up, chances are people are not going to go, no, you messed up, unless you literally get hurt and the match stops. I go, so let's keep it simple. We walk through it maybe once or twice at the PC. We get to the building. We start talking it over. We rehearse a little bit in the ring with the finish, like before the people get let in. I said, guys, are you comfortable with me not talking as much as possible into the ref's earpiece? Referee, are you comfortable communicating to them if I need you to communicate with them? But I'm telling you right now, there's mostly going to be radio silence. It's up to you guys, because in WWE, the IFB might go out, something might happen, and you guys need to know how to not panic. It's a very real circumstance, right? They go out there. I may have said, hey, slow down. Okay, guys, you got to pick up the pace. Comeback starts. We need you guys. Need to go. Come on, guys. Go. Keep going. Good job. Ref, keep them going. Keep them going. All right, good. We need to go home. You guys got 2 minutes or 1 minute, whatever. We were trying to keep them on hard time. I may have spoken to the referee besides tell them to slow down. Hey, they're doing a great job. Tell them they're doing great. Trying to give them positive reinforcement. I may have said 6 things, maybe 8. Just the nature of just metaphorically, hey, doing great, slow down, speed up. Okay, let's take it home. And afterwards, hey, tell them they did great, man. Great match, guys. It wasn't like right foot first, left foot next. Dude, literally, I'm listening to the matches after that. You got to go over to the corner. No, the corner to the right, not the other corner. There's 4 freaking corners. It doesn't matter, right? So I'm saying right, but I already know it's right because that's the way I was taught. They come back. They say, that was the most fun we've had since we've been here. That was awesome. We didn't even know we could do that. I was like, everybody can do it. You need to be put out there to succeed or fail. I forget who came up to me, one of the other coaches or agents, and said, dude, what the F are you doing? I was like, what are you talking about? You didn't give them anything. They just went out there and worked the match. I was like, yeah. I go, they learned a lot. And that's not what we do here. Next day, Matt Bloom read me the riot act about that. Even Norman Smiley pulled me aside and said, no, that's not the way you do it. He goes, Stevie, you were right, but that's not the way we do it around here. I was like, I get it. And Matt wouldn't let up. He was like, you really effed up doing it that way. It's like, okay.
What do they think the benefit is to having agents script every single breathe in, breathe out, footstep, corner to the second? What do you think the benefit of that is? There is no benefit, surely.
Well, you're seeing the benefit on TV right now when something goes south and everybody's just standing around essentially holding what in their hands. But I feel like the entire week was a complete test on me, or trying to unindoctrinate me into what I learned throughout, at the time, like 20 years of wrestling that got me to WWE and kept me in WWE for 10 years. It's fine. You can do it your way, but don't gaslight me into thinking I'm doing it the completely wrong way. And maybe I'm a little bit of a Jim Cornette when it comes to that, but a little bit old school. What's wrong with somebody messing up on a house show to learn a lesson? And they did mess up. And they were told, those two guys were told, don't ever do that again. I'm like, oh.
I'd love to hear Otis talk about that one day. So if anyone can get this to Otis.
If he remembers it, even if he even remembers it at this point.
Did Matt or whoever else at WWE or NXT, did they still offer you the job after that?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, this is where I knew, like, this company doesn't value me and doesn't care. And if they thought they were throwing me charity, thank you for the $1,500 and the week-long headache that I had, because I was ready to go to Wildcat and never speak about this ever again until I meet a young British gentleman that's going to host a show with me. Mm. So on the last day, I'm literally searching for Matt to get an exit interview and an evaluation of the week, as you would. Hey, any feedback or anything? 3 different times during the course of a 30 to 45 minute span that morning. And I had a flight to catch, by the way. I'm like, hey, Matt, could we have 5 minutes? Could you just give me some feedback on this week? He's BSing with somebody in the gym. Oh, yeah, just hold on 1 second. They're laughing, it's not like a meeting or anything. He's blowing me off 3 different times. 3 strikes, you're out. And then finally I just left. Never spoke to him after that. Never got like, hey man, what do you think? Do you want to come in again? Whatever. Not that I thought that would happen, but you know what I mean? It was literally just boom. They were done with me on that last day. And believe me, I was done with them.
Did you ever produce any other TV matches ever? I mean, you might have given advice, on Indies or wherever else it was, but any TV matches did you produce?
For NXT?
Forever. Anywhere?
No, never. Never.
Is that the kind of thing you could see yourself enjoying?
No. Not in the WWE system. Never. Never. Just before we go back, I can't even convey to you through words how they somehow managed to treat me worse than they treated me during my time in WWE. It was like they were like trying to make up for lost time in the years I wasn't in the company.
They're trying to condense 8 years.
Yeah. It was like the highlights that we watch. You can keep that in the show as a little bars and tone thing.
Okay, enough of reliving some of your happiest memories in WWE Developmental over the past few years, Stevie. We're going to be talking about a memory that's a lot more recent and even happier. And it is finally, I say finally because it happened once recently with John Cena as well in Saudi Arabia. Once again, that bully, the oppressor, that harrier, the persecutor, that ruffian, that tormentor, Charles Robinson, head referee with WWE, gets his comeuppance. Stevie, on WWE Saturday night's main event, Goldberg versus Gunther, what went right?
Oh, what went right? I'm going to tell you right now, this is the face of a man who's been bullied in the back before his match. And even there, Goldberg is thinking, I'm a human being. This is another alleged human being in Charles Robinson. This is a person, but I would dare say, even though he's trying to be good, he's trying to take care of this person who obviously bullied him in the back. I heard just a rumor, pure speculation. Charles Robinson, before Saturday night's main event, before they even got to the building, because Charles helped set the ring up, and he's the first one there and the last one to leave. But by being the first one there, he is able to facilitate the removal of all the soda machines in that arena in Atlanta, Georgia. Therefore, costing Bill Goldberg the frame of mind, the mindset to win the world heavyweight title. So if you're a Goldberg fan, as you used to be, and you were hoping in his hometown he was going to win the world heavyweight championship, you only have one person to blame. And that is the person that karma came to call on in this match. That son of a bitch, Charles Robinson, gets what he deserves. That was very Vince McMahon-like, wasn't it? Mm. He injected the poison into Charles Robinson. I still got it, baby. I'm tired. That's all I got.
You. I'm just looking at Goldberg's head, and that audio's coming at me.
All right, let's cue it up here. Oh, no. This is a man that instantly regrets. I'm going to get a message. As much as Rick and I, off of all your hard work, getting in the ring, getting a push, dare I say it, just stealing money from the wrestling business. And here we are. And has regret on his face. Has regret. And wants to make sure to check on Charles Robinson. Would Charles do the same thing for you, Bill? I think not. Bump before the spear. What are you doing, Charles? See, Goldberg is giving you his body, specifically his right shoulder. You can't even give him the common courtesy of taking the bump right. You only think about yourself. And dare I say it, I would ask Goldberg, is your shoulder okay? Because let's face it, I'm sorry, Goldberg. I'm about to reveal a very, very disturbing piece of news about Charles Robinson. He's a huge Bret Hart fan. And I dare say it, he was probably wearing a metal vest under that shirt like Bret was, trying to hurt you. Oh, Charles.
That this bump starts early because despite the fact that Charles was already going that way, he would end up with a cracked rib.
I don't believe it. I think it might be a Seth Rollins injury work. Possibly.
Do you think he's trying to get a couple months
I
off?
See, I know Charles, and I didn't say it last time, and it upsets me because I consider him a friend one time until, he took advantage of my kindness and started beating me up in catering. The thing with Charles is, this is not a man. This is a monster. This is a monster that, unfortunately, I don't think this is the end of his reign of terror. A cracked rib is not going to stop a monster like this. And he even texted me this morning. I sent him a picture of Ric Flair. And he didn't have anything nice to say about Rick. So he has no friends. There's no bridge too far for Charles Robinson to cross. And dare I say it, when he got to the back, I think he double-legged Goldberg and started beating him up. I've seen this before from this man, this monster right here.
Do you think this is why he's been employed for so long?
What's that?
Do you think this is why he's been employed for so long? Because TKO was scared of him?
Can you imagine? I'm sorry, Charles, I have to switch cameras. Don't get mad at me. Can you imagine having to be the person? See, this would have been a Mark Carrano job because he's disposable. So can you imagine having to be the person to go into a room alone with Charles Robinson to tell him your career in WWE is over and I'm alone in a room with you and you have nothing to lose right now? And Charles Robinson does remember the movie The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, where he's going to walk out and instead of walking out, he locks the doors? Or Kingsman, where they lock the door and turn around and he says, manners maketh the man, Or Charles goes, woo, really quiet and disturbing, and then turns around and says, are you sure you want to release me? I'd be like, no, here's Bret Hart's 20-year contract. No, please sign it. And then we're out the door and everybody lives for now. But hopefully Charles is okay. He did not tell me he got a cracked rib. And by the way, the text Charles sent me right away was a screenshot of this spear, expecting that we were going to talk about him right now. So Charles got what he wanted. Do you see how he manipulated us into getting this segment? This egomaniac. I have to repeat it. This monster that I have to say he must be stopped. But unfortunately, at this point, he cannot be stopped. Even Goldberg. He probably laughed. He probably said, "You broke my rib, so come here." And he punched him and broke 2 of Goldberg's ribs.
On Charles's official
never
Instagram
gets old.
account.
It's like the Stinky Face podcast. Never gets old.
That will never go. Still friends with Goldberg after having, so he claims on his Instagram, by the way, still friends with Goldberg after having the honor of officiating the match against Gunther for the WWE Saturday Night's Main Event.
Wait a minute. The honor? He went up to those guys and probably dropped 14 F-bombs saying, "I'm effing reffing this match." And there's a referee laying next to him in a pool of blood. Actually, all of them. Females and males. Beat them all up. "This is all you got, baby, right here." And they were like, okay.
Ribs are still sore, but so what? I got speared.
Guess what? The ribs aren't too sore here right now.
No.
Our ribs towards him. Goldberg, like myself, Goldberg's right-handed, so am I. Southpaws, we just have trouble with. Charles Robinson, classic Southpaw jinx.
Does Charles Robinson go low and grabby when he's attacking you?
You know what? What can you do to stop him? No, I've been lucky enough to where I didn't get the testicular claws or, he didn't. I did. Dare I say, I heard back in the day, just a rumor, but let's say it's real, that he told Jerry Lawler to rupture one of Tommy Dreamer's testicles back in the day. He's had his grubby little hands in everything over the past 30 to 40 years.
We don't have the video. I couldn't find it. This isn't even the first time that Goldberg has speared Robinson. He also received one in 2003 after Chris Jericho dodged out of the way on WWE Raw. So why is it after over 20 years? I'm sure you've got a theory here. That Charles Robinson says, "Yes, sir, please can I have another?" What's the ulterior motive?
Well, I would say the number one thing would be to try to break Goldberg's shoulder because he might have just dislocated it that first time. Charles doesn't forget. Elephants and evil people like this monster, Charles Robinson, don't forget. And he will wait 22 years he's waiting. He's not, he belongs in that company. They don't forget. Dare I say, I think Charles is in charge of what's that? Can't
Charles
go
in
anywhere.
charge.
Charles in charge. There's your thumbnail right there. We love you, Charles. We love you. Hopefully.
Anything else to add about Charles?
Charles is actually just like me. If you buried me like that ad nauseum with such an over-the-top burial, I'm going to be like, come on, do it again, do it again. So he was like looking forward to this segment. I love Charles. Very good, dear friend, fan of the show. And I can't believe he hasn't been released because of all these factors.
Well, he's pure evil. Who's brave?
Oh, that's a saving grace there. That's a saving grace there. He probably told Bill DeMott how to train these people.
So we've mentioned the spear. Now we've got to mention Goldberg. He was on an Ariel Helwani show yesterday as we record this, on Tuesday for everybody else, because the show's released on Friday. And he had quite a lot of things to say about his last match. Would you believe it, Stevie, that he was not satisfied with it? NBC main event World Heavyweight Championship, and he was upset with basically everything. And he might have a point with some of it, but let's go through some of the quotes. Goldberg said, "Ultimately, to have a little bit more control over the time and the space would have been much more preferred. Let's just put it this way. But to be given the opportunity on such a special show with the lineage of the show to be able to go against the World Heavyweight Champion, to be able to go against Gunther, it was an honour and a privilege. I had to make the most of it." When asked if he would have preferred the match to be on a pay-per-view PLE, "Yeah, absolutely. They cut me off after 20 freaking seconds with the microphone in my hand, for God's sake. I have 2 weeks before I can really spill the beans and make my feelings known about the entire rundown. From the inception of the idea to its delivery, it was a little less than to be desired. But again, I'm not going to complain." He's not going to complain, because not many people get that opportunity. Gunther was an unbelievable guy to work with. It was awesome. I had a good time and I was laughing. I actually had fun. There were moments in that match where I actually enjoyed myself, and I can't say that about what I've done many times. Goldberg then said the match not being announced until 3 weeks out, even though it had been decided on in January, made it difficult for him to contact people to be part of his walkout entourage. He also would have preferred there to be a larger build-up to the match. Quote, once again, I would have loved for them to... Well, basically, I've just said what it was. I'll give you another quote. About Gage, WWE tried to give him an NIL deal, but when I found out how much they were going to give him, I put the brakes on that one. But they would be ignorant if they didn't have an idea that it could just be in his future. And one more thing, Helwani asked Goldberg about his apparent mixed emotions regarding the retirement match. Goldberg responded, let's just say I'm pissed off at the way I went out, because I put so much into it, and I don't feel as though the effort was reciprocated to put a stamp on what I've accomplished. Again, I'm not going to say that I'm not ecstatic with the opportunity that I got. He's not going to say that. I think it could have been done a little bit differently, that's all. I'm happy with my performance. I'm happy with the setting. But could it have been better? Absolutely. It could always be better. Now, there's more stuff we can talk about here. Shall I just go through all the quotes so we've got everything ready?
Yeah, definitely. Ariel is really, he's doing a James Romero. I don't want to answer, and then he just kind of reframes the question, and Goldberg's answering. He's giving the more details and not waiting 2 weeks. My theory on that is until the check clears, 2 weeks. That's what I was thinking of.
Well, it isn't a PLE. Isn't a PLE, so
no, but
you still have to wait 3 months.
Yeah, but he still gets paid every 2 weeks from WWE, and that check for Saturday night's main event would be a part of that, is my assumption.
Give you a couple more quotes and then I'll stop blathering on. Well, there's about 100 things. I did 3 interviews beforehand. Ariel, I did 3 in 6 months. They cut me off after 30 seconds into my speech. Bro, you don't do that, but it's all good. I think it doesn't matter because it's live television and you can plan for it. That's all. I know it was what it was and the match might have gone long and this, that, or whatever it was. But I just think it could have been a little classier prepared than it was. I'll just say that's a mild understatement. It is what it is. I got the opportunity to speak for 28 seconds. And then he says that 28 seconds
which
speech
is
is
it,
the ultimate.
20, 28, or 30? What, did you have a stop?
Oh, well, it's whatever it suits him for, I guess. But he says it's the ultimate rib, 28 seconds for a speech. And then he says, I'm not saying it was done on purpose by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying that he wasn't prepared for on purpose. That's all. I mean, they wouldn't do that to The Undertaker, right? I don't think they would. They're not going to do that thing to John Cena. Cena's going around the world doing his retirement thing. Okay, there's several different things he's complained about there, quite frankly. The first one is he wasn't happy with... Well, he wasn't happy with the booking. He wasn't really happy with the match at times. He wasn't happy with the speech. What do you want to talk about first?
But he was happy at the same time.
Oh, ecstatic. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity. But your opportunity sucked. He said that, actually. It wasn't the opportunity I should have had, but I'm ecstatic about the opportunity, but the opportunity wasn't good. But thank you for the opportunity, but it really sucked. Now, didn't he say this after the Undertaker match in Saudi Arabia and after the Roman Reigns match? He said the same exact things, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you had 3 matches, and you're kind of saying everything around it outside of you was what was wrong with the match. Therefore, as I get older, and much older as time goes on, I want another crack at it, because if you give me a different opponent at a different setting, then I'll be happy with that match. But the first 3, with 3 different opponents, 3 different settings, big money matches, especially Saudi Arabia, but I'm not happy with it. So what's the problem here? What's the consistent problem in 3 of these matches? Yeah, you could say the booking, or is it one of those things, what's the saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now fool me a 3rd time, who are you going to shame? If WWE's never going to do right by you, Goldberg, why do you keep coming back to go and let them creatively book it completely wrong? I agree with some of the points. I really do. Plus the fact your last match is also glossed over because John Cena's retirement year or retirement months. It's very muddied right now. So this whole thing, was thrown together out of nowhere. You expected us to remember the last time in Atlanta that Gunther disrespected you in January. And maybe
October, I think. It was 2024. Yeah.
Well, here's what Goldberg needed. Here's what Goldberg could have done. He could have kept doing interviews. He could have kept doing media. He could have kept talking about Gunther and how he's eventually going to get. He could have made his own push out of it. You see what I mean?
Mm.
But he disappeared. And obviously, dude, TKO, WWE, the presentation, you're booked in a fake wrestling match and a fake wrestling storyline. You can't just go out there and do whatever you're going to do. We understand that. But when you say, well, it wasn't what I wanted, well, what match do you want? What would be the perfect last Goldberg match? And please don't say me, because I don't want it.
Brett.
Really? Is that what he's not looking for that?
No, he isn't looking for that. I just said that. That's a good point you bring up.
It would be the
earlier,
best.
though.
It would be the longest storyline ever if both of them were physically able to do it. Think about it.
I was going to say it'd be the longest match ever if you included entrances. Like 20-minute entrances. Maybe they could go on a boat with the Young Bucks and go around the arena first.
Oh my God, my wife is still having nightmares about that.
Yeah. With okay, I don't understand quite what the problem with the booking was, because he's been injured the entire first half of the year. He's barely been mentioned whatsoever. He's not been coming out publicly saying, "Oh, I want to do this, that, and the other." He's not creating, as you say, his own angle or advancing his own story there, which is absolutely right. He's not. He's sort of sat around for the most part, complaining that not everybody is doing right by him. But the fact is that also, he's not the most important person in WWE. This is a very short-term thing. And it seems to mostly be to placate Bill in this as well, because WWE would have just been just fine without this match. Even though the build just before Saturday night's main event was actually very good. Very simple, very basic, very good. But yeah, so why is he not happy? What would the booking be? He doesn't want to do anything on his own, off his own back. So what does he want WWE to do for him when he's out injured, eating to gain weight and letting the injections in his back kick in so he can move around again?
I don't have an idea, because I looked. We talked about the Undertaker match in Saudi Arabia. We talked about the Roman Reigns one, and I've watched both of those. And I'm thinking it's like, and the Brock Lesnar match was probably the last really, really good, solid match that got people excited, where he beat him out of nowhere. It was just the greatest hits within, 90 seconds? Mm-hmm. It's that what Goldberg wants. Because dare I say it, that was a match that got over successfully for what it was against Brock and how quick it was. But of course, Brock had run through everybody. So it was like a flash knockout that had everybody caught off guard. But then when you have a predictable match that's promoted and there's length to it, Goldberg gets exposed. This Saturday night's main event match was the least exposing match of Goldberg in many, many years. So what do you want? Dare I say, I think Goldberg wants to go out. Goldberg's greatest hits, goes out on top, wins a title, vacate the title, tournament later on. Which is what I thought would happen if they weren't going to do the cash in from Seth. And I still stick by my theory that there was a chance that Goldberg was going to go over, Seth cashes in, becomes world champion.
What about the speech then? 28 seconds. It ends up being 10 minutes. For everybody who watched it, they've all said that it was a really, really great speech. Diamond Dallas Page obviously manages to get himself in a prime position in front of the camera.
Oh, I pointed that out right away.
Oh, I know. But he's complaining that obviously he only got 30 seconds. He wasn't given enough time for the speech, etc. So who's in the right here?
Well, that was set up to fail. That was set up on purpose. And Bill's kind of alluding to accidental, kind of on purpose booking type thing. My theory is they were supposed to go out with Gunther on top, Goldberg selling, and then the full post-match off-air, maybe WWE.com, social media, full speech would have aired there. Somebody made a mistake. Maybe they thought they had a couple minutes, or he was just going to thank everybody. They didn't know how much time they had. But there's no mistake. And somebody should have told Bill, just acknowledge the fans without talking. We're off the air. Now start talking. Was there confusion? Now, the thing that Bill didn't say, was this speech supposed to be on air or off air? I don't believe he said that, right?
I
Nobody
figure he thought it'd be on air. Because he's upset that it was 28 seconds.
Yeah,
He's
but what
not
I'm
upset
saying
that-
is he would have included the detail. They told me that speech was going to be part of the show.
Yeah. Well, in 2 weeks, when the check clears, or the NDA clears, whatever it is, then we'll probably find out, and then we'll get some more content out of it, quite frankly, for this show, when we react to it.
Can I
That'll
ask
be
you a question?
interesting.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think Bill did more harm than good if Gage, his son, potentially does go into the WWE NIL program as part of the main roster because he automatically said they aren't paying him enough? WWE doesn't forget this. Do you think we have a multi-generational burial that may happen?
If they see money in Gage, they'll pay him, I'm sure. But the thing is that I'm sure WWE knows that Bill is a malcontent. And that's fine to a point. I mean, you have to be. You have to stick up for yourself and everything. But as far as like a build and a big show and everything, I thought it was really good. I mean, forget about the match.
I'm satisfied with it.
And it wasn't on a PLE. It was on NBC. Far more eyeballs would be on that as well. So a lot of people would prefer that.
Yeah, especially in this day and age where if you're going to pay it a la carte, it's very expensive. If you're on the subscription, that's one thing. But what do you want them to do? Do you want them now? They could have booked in January. We're going to be in Atlanta for this pay-per-view. They could book that 6 months ahead. I do 6, 7 months. I do agree with that. But you got your hometown. You got free network television so more people can watch it. And dare I say it, you got to go out giving a speech on air or off air, a mixture of both, to your hometown crowd and your friends and family. You're right. What do you want, Bill? Just tell them what you want. What's the way to go out? Because nobody, Al Snow famously said, no wrestler goes out on the exact terms they want. So what do you want?
He, I think in the same interview also said that he's now considering coming out of retirement again because he wasn't happy with that match, etc. But here's the other thing. There was something that Goldberg had suggested a couple of years ago. He was in contact with AEW at one point and then called Tony or the company beneath him, essentially, was what he was getting at. But he was also suggesting, well, I can just book my own show and then I'll go out. Why don't you do that then?
That's like people saying they want to start a podcast and they think it's super easy.
Yeah, that's like Bender the Robot saying, I'm going to start my own casino with blackjack and hookers, and then he just never does it.
So is he talking about booking the whole one show or the whole storyline leading up to his final match?
He's talking about booking an independent show, independent from WWE or anybody else.
Oh, just like this is my retirement independent show that I'm going to book the Georgia Dome or whatever for.
Yeah. Or kind of like the Ric Flair's last match, independent of and they can do whatever they want on that. Book the undercard, and then Undertaker.
I told you when he said. I told you when he said Gunther was next. There's going to be more. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. He didn't say last.
He didn't
Has
say
he ever
last.
said last?
He said it to Reigns and Taker, I believe, or one or the other.
Oh, well, maybe he should do a three-way with Roman Reigns and Undertaker. So then,
for all we know, I'm going to be the last match if I keep talking about this dude.
Does he know your new address?
Does he? No, but he knows my number.
That's fine. Charles Robinson.
Oh, Charles will give him my address. Yeah, Charles will do it. Turncoat.
Right then, we're going to end on this. This is something I actually wanted to bring up last week, but we didn't have time. There's a shock. Street Fighter, the film. Now, the casting has been, for the most part, for all the fighters. I don't know,
well,
all
you
the major
forgot our
casting
funny
has been
game.
Released. What funny game?
I'm looking at the show notes. The alternate theory. Who pulled the plug on the promo?
Oh, yeah. And why was it Brett?
Why was it Brett? Dude, that's our thumbnail. Bret Hart pulling the plug on Goldberg's speech with the NBC logo.
Yeah. Just like,
would that be awesome? Oh, that was my favorite theory that is not true to any part, but I wish so hard that Bret Hart, that they cut to him with a plug going shh.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay,
incredible.
we'll make it happen. I promise you, we'll make it happen for the thumbnail. Oh, right then, Street Fighter. So the people wondering why we're bringing this up, it's not another gaming episode, but a lot of wrestlers have been cast as Street Fighter favourites, and it's going to be released next year. I don't know when filming takes place, but it's going to be fairly soon. And we're going to go through the casting of everybody, but very briefly before we do, what do you remember of the first Street Fighter film, apart from Kylie Minogue?
I remember that Jean-Claude Van Damme, because there's so many videos, now they're going to pop up for sure because my phone's listening, but I watched the behind-the-scenes stuff and people telling stories about Jean-Claude Van Damme being a complete nightmare to work with and very odd, and it had to all be about him and everything. So, and they didn't ask him to come back with a cameo yet, so I'm assuming, but he's different now, so maybe they will. But I do remember, I have to find the footage. I'm going to touch on it once again. I think it was DDT Wrestling or something where they had like monsters and gimmicks. It was very WWE-ish. And they had an M. Bison character, which I think was Masa Chono playing M. Bison. And Paul London said, there was a promo where he just said, get him. And he was up in the rafters, like Sting.
I'm just looking for it. I can't find it. I can't find it. Was it? Maybe it wasn't Chono, because I can't find a photo of him with his hat on. If I may, I'm going to switch over. Oh, yeah, I need to actually... Here we go. I actually need to share my screen as well. I'm not used to this. I usually do this on the Dutch show, so bear with. There we go. You don't know what I did, but I did some magic there. Right, so you can see everything, and we're going to go through this one at a time. And some of the people you will not know, or unlikely to know, a lot of people you will. So we're going to talk about the casting. One more thing is, with Guile, right, you know, he's got an American flag tattoo on his arm, played by Belgian-born Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, makes sense.
Raul Julia was amazing in that film. That was the last one I think he filmed before he died.
I think so. He was actually sick, I think, during the filming of that. And he has the best line in the movie when he's talking to Sonya, I believe, right?
Yeah. No, it'd be Chun-Li or something.
Chun-Li. That's who he was speaking to. And
yeah, really. And for me, it was a Tuesday.
That was cold. That is very... Get him.
Was he sick from chewing the scenery in that film?
Sick from chewing the scenery? Because he was
Have you never heard of that phrase before? You know when someone's overacting to the point, to a ridiculous point, it's chewing the scenery.
Yeah, but I don't think he got sick from that.
I just thought, I don't know, he just got sick from all that scenery eating.
I wasn't sick from the acting. It was very, very good. Dude, it's a Street Fighter movie. It's a video game. What do you want to do?
Hey, do you know what the worst bit of that film was, among many? Was who they cast as Blanca. They just cast, like, someone's next-door neighbour and painted him green.
I'm more interested to know how many people are going to be eating chicken, rice, and broccoli to get these physiques with the Street Fighter.
Right, let's move on. So, Vidyut Jamwal playing Dalsim. We don't know, he's an Indian actor. We don't know anything about him, I think it's fair to say. But next up, a wrestler straight away. Hiroki Goto playing E. Honda.
It's kind of weird because E. Honda is like a sumo wrestler body type, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want like an Akibono type.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Akibono or somebody having that type of body. But what are they going to do? Are they going to give like fat suits and muscle suits to these people?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, to some of them. I mean, or you know, he really is going to have to get on the rice. And
chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, the chicken broccoli. Next up, Andrew Koji. So Andrew Koji is best known for Snake Eyes. It's a loose G.I. Joe-based movie. And Bullet Train as well, with Brad Pitt, I think. Yeah,
I do remember that. And I do remember the previous one, too. He's going to play a very good... These headshots don't really tell the story of the physiques. That's the number one thing. But this guy, when he was Snake Eyes, definitely could play Ryu in this, my Philly accent.
Okay, next up is Kalina Liang. Someone else... Oh, hang on. No, I just missed someone out.
No, Noah Centennial.
Centennial. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed someone out. Right, and next up is...
Playing Ken is a weird one, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you think someone was blonde, for starters. Have you heard of this geezer?
No.
All right, I'll Google him in a minute. Right, okay, next one. This is the last one people won't know, apart from maybe one more, actually. Kalina Liang, she was in an ITV teen drama, apparently. That's about it, for people to know. Right, let's get into the interesting stuff. And apparently, no introduction needed for this guy since you've watched The Dark Knight 4 billion times. David Dasmalchian as M. Bison.
Yeah, he's the one that played the guy, one of the insane asylum people for the Joker, and Harvey Dent had kidnapped him out of the ambulance, and he had the name tag that said Rachel Dawes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The famous scene where Batman grabbed the coin, and he's like, you're going to leave a man's life to chance? Not exactly.
Do you see him as M. Bison?
The trigger?
Was that Johnny Ace?
That was Johnny Ace as the Dark Knight, correct.
What do you think of him as M. Bison?
I give it a chance. I mean, you have somebody that's a properly trained actor that could get into the part, but as far, once again, physique, this guy is not carrying the M. Bison physique. But with M. Bison, to have a muscle suit on is actually pretty easy because he's constantly covered, as you can see here. The other ones where the sleeves are exposed, that's going to be a much rougher translation.
I've only just realised the belt has got a single S from the SS Schutzstaffel logo there. Or maybe he's just a partial Kiss fan. Like only one letter. I don't know.
Or Shazam.
Or Shazam. It could be that one as well. Next up, Cody Rhodes as Guile. Hey, you've got blonde hair and an American flag tattoo. Hey, you've got a... Tony Gurria.
What are you, Street Fighter?
Tony Gurria was doing casting in this.
Tony Gurria should be like Raiden in the next Mortal Kombat. Hey, what are y'all, smartasses? There's some lightning. So,
I love Christopher Lambert. I don't think so.
He's kind of like George Clooney, where he's just going to be Christopher Lambert in every movie, no matter what he plays, right?
Pretty much.
That's a good choice, Cody. You know, I don't know if Guile...
You don't sound that convinced.
I just don't know. Wrestlers play. I mean, he's in the Naked Gun movie. He was Stephen Amell's best friend and was in an Arrow as Samson. Good for him, man. I'm sure Cody Rhodes, everything short of a Zelda movie, this is definitely a bucket list thing.
Have you seen Cody Rhodes act in anything?
I've seen him act in Arrow.
Was he okay?
Very one-dimensional, but the character was one-dimensional. I seen him act like a very relatable babyface, even though he's wearing 7-piece suits and a pocket watch. He's freaking Homelander. Come on, man.
Who's going to be the lead in this? Because obviously Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile was the lead in the first one. So is Cody Rhodes the lead in this? Probably not, but...
My assumption would be that this looks like very much an ensemble cast where everybody will kind of shine or not shine.
Like Friends.
Now, if he wants to take a page out of The Rock and try to take over the entire Street Fighter universe, it didn't work out for Rock with DC, but you can give it a shot.
There's always Dead or Alive.
That's true. The next one translation is really, really good. Is Jason Momoa playing Blanca. He looks like a green Lobo, which he's going to play Lobo in probably the Superman movies.
Oh, have you seen the new Superman?
It's awesome.
Is it?
Yeah, Chris saw it too.
Yeah.
We're actually working.
He went to the IMAX to go see it. He said it was great.
It's awesome. We said you wouldn't like it because you don't like anything, but you know.
Yeah, Man of Steel, man. That's the last Superman. Terrible. That's the only film I saw in 3D. It was just too gimmicky, man.
This one is very, very good. But little Easter egg here, Chris and I are also working on a cold open with the Superman
God,
titles.
You're not going to be painted green, are you?
No, the Superman titles.
So Jason Momoa playing.
It's going to be like this.
That works for you.
It works for me completely. It's the best one yet. We were going to do the thing. It was going to be like, show them what went right and what went wrong, my little Kal-El.
That is the kind of reference that you two will get more than me.
It's
Dude, if it wasn't
Jor-El.
Christopher Reeves.
No, Jor-El telling Superman to save the world. Good Lord, man.
I've seen some. Look, if it wasn't Christopher Reeves, it's like Batman.
This
Pure
Superman,
West.
this Superman is a good mix of the Christopher Reeve, but a little bit of modern day type Superman stuff.
Is it still Henry Cavill?
No. David Horns. I can't pronounce his last name. No, it's a completely new Superman.
Jason Momoa has been in Minecraft, the movie, and nothing else.
No,
Next
Fast and
up.
Furious, really
No,
terrible.
he wasn't. He was never in that. He was only in Minecraft. Right, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. He's playing Balrog.
Not a bad choice. 50 cents is a good choice.
Who's the guy who's
I
Creed?
sound every bit of 53. 50 cents. Half a
Change.
dollar. Half a dollar.
Yeah, I get it. He's quite old, though, isn't he?
He is. I would dare say what inflation and everything, isn't he? 85 cents now? Little joke there.
He probably is. I'm actually looking at his age now, playing a fit boxer. 50 years old. Jeez. Have you... The first photo that came up, I'm going to show the camera first. Sorry, I'm going to show you.
I see it.
I'll show the camera. Oh, no, hang on. No, everyone can just see that one. So, yeah, there you go. He's playing Balrog. So that's the casting for that. Now, this
Wait
is
a
the
minute, you're
last
acting
guy.
like 50-year-old. I'm 53, dude. You're acting like this guy's so
Yeah,
old.
but no one's trying to, prime Mike Tyson.
You were about to make me feel even worse. Well, nobody's booking.
No one's
Nobody
saying
wants
21-year-old Mike Tyson.
Nobody wants you at 53. Man, all you
No
gotta do
one's
is
trying to
call-
cast you
let me-
as prime Mike Tyson.
Let me call Bill DeMott so he can finish me off.
What?
Yeah, tell me to kill myself. I mean, come on.
Oh, right. I thought you meant the other kind of finishing off. It's like, you
Yeah,
have
tell me
seen
to put
phone
a
calls to
donut
wrestling
somewhere.
personalities. Yeah, man. Who's this geezer? Orville Peck.
He looks like the most evil Lone Ranger in this picture.
Apparently, that's his gimmick. He's a South African-born country singer who wears ridiculous masks.
I'd say he doesn't look too happy about it. Or he was
No, he
born
should
to
cheer
play.
up,
He was born to play Vega, and he knew all along, right?
Yeah.
But basically, you should have worn a Casey Jones mask from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Vega really pissed me off in that game because he kept climbing the walls and he was the only one who could do it. But only on, like, his own level, his
So
stage.
you want him to instantly die in the first 5 minutes of the movie, right?
You could draw it out. I mean, just like, flip backwards, in the some dungeon you can leave him in. Next up, Andrew Schul. He never heard of him. He's a stand-up comedian and podcaster. We'll leave him. And then last
It's Andrew
but not
Schultz,
least,
by the way. It's not.
they just so they just left off 2 letters.
Yeah, it's Andrew Schultz.
Oh. And then Roman Reigns as Akuma. That's already too late for me because I think was Akuma in 2 or did he debut in 3?
I don't remember. I'll tell you what. I think if, besides body type, maybe because this person has a man bun too, but I think that Roman Reigns would be better in the part that Andrew Schultz is playing. I don't know why. It's so weird. Roman Reigns could probably play any of these characters outside of the one Cody Rhodes is playing, Guile.
I don't know, Chun-Li.
Yeah, you could play Chun-Li.
Yeah, I could see it. Shave the beard.
It's 2025. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Let's just go on to the game then very briefly. Who was your... I'm presuming, because you played every single game, you were a Street Fighter 2. In fact, which version? Street Fighter 2, the new Challengers, or Turbo, or the World Warriors? Which is the ones you had?
Well, I got them all now on the Steam Deck, but I was more of a Marvel versus Capcom guy. So you still had Street Fighter characters in that. Dude, do you remember what was the console where the cartridge is? Was it the Neo Geo where the cartridges were like $200 back in the day?
Was it the handheld, the Neo Geo?
That was one, but there was a system. Yeah, it might have been that one, the Neo Geo. But there was something where the cartridges even back then were like $200, and the flagship game was Street Fighter. It was Capcom games. So I think it was Neo Geo. I
It
would
wasn't
say,
a Jaguar, was it?
no, not Jaguar, as you would say.
No, I go Jag.
I liked M. Bison. He was my favorite. Get him. Before Get Him.
Yeah, he had that thing where he could jump really high and then land on you, kind of like Shiva, I guess, in Mortal Kombat. She was terrible. There you go. In fact, as far as the fighting game goes, what was your fighting game? What was your best one?
Well, probably Mortal Kombat first. And then because it was banned at one point, Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
That was
That
really
came on the
good.
black cartridge as well, and
Yes,
the one I got came with a soundtrack CD.
Yes, it did. But you know, wrestling games filled in for the fighting games because in the vein of the wrestling game, Fire Pro Wrestling, 6-Man Scramble back in the day, and then, of course, Warzone and all that stuff. And then we go into the SmackDown versus Raws. Those always scratched my itch for the fighting games where I never really went into them too much. I think of modern times, Injustice was really good with the DC characters.
Never played it.
You never played Injustice 1 or 2?
No.
It's free to play now. You should try it.
On what platform?
All of them. It's a free to play game.
Oh,
I know
well.
it's on PS5, PS4, so you can play it.
PS10. Just because you were talking about wrestling games, did you ever play In Your House? There was like in 96 or 97, and that was somewhere between, because it was Midway who made Mortal Kombat, and it was somewhere between Mortal Kombat and WWF Raw.
I believe I played it on Super Nintendo as well as they had the arcade game too, right?
They did. They had it on PlayStation 1, that game, which is the one I think I had.
Was I talking about Royal Rumble or WrestleMania Challenge or something? It was on Super NES. I know I played it. 100% I played it. And it had very much just a regular Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat type feel to it.
Yeah, but then like The Undertaker would be like throwing ghosts at you and stuff. So it'd have the... Yeah, you'd be doing the Al Duken.
That's the Ryu thing, right? With the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al Duken. Should we watch the Mortal Kombat movie for Patreon? Because I love the original. Your soul is mine.
We should watch
love
the
that.
first 5 to 10 minutes of the sequel and how terrible it is.
Which one?
Mortal
Annihilation
Kombat.
or the reboot?
No, the Annihilation one.
As a kid, this is how stupid I was at 10 or 11 when it came out. I liked that more, just purely because it had more characters. It took me ages to realise it wasn't Christopher Lambert. I was like, man, Christopher Lambert's nimble. No, he wasn't.
It will forever be ingrained negatively into me. I forget the shot, but I remember the shot, like they would shoot onto their giant walking down to the ring. They shot it from the bottom of the pyramid up. Whoever, I think it might have been Sonya standing there or somebody. And the back of it was the worst green screen, clouds and lightning. It was so bad how they had it on a green screen.
They paid them for like a day, whoever played Sonya and Johnny Cage from the first film, just to kill them off. And then but it was because we always bring it back to wrestling. It's like when Jim Herd took over and then fired all the high-priced talent and then replaced them with like Master Blaster Steel and the other one, Kevin Green and everybody else.
Hey, Jim Herd loved the Renegade too, right?
Renegade was way after.
Was it after Jim Herd?
Yeah, Renegade was like 95, I think. Jim Herd was gone by 92.
Oh, that's true, because he had some Nitro appearances too, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. He was there until like 98, 99, I think, Renegade. He was also the guy who, when the Ultimate Warrior came in, he was the body double for, when they did that War Games effect where he poofs up in a cloud of smoke and then disappears again, but then the real Ultimate Warrior runs out from the back. That was Renegade.
Oh, wow. And that's where Warrior said he tore his tricep, but he was working out with bands, trying to keep his size for like months and months.
Yeah. How can you tear your tricep doing nothing? He found a way.
Well, if you keep having last matches, you're going to tear your tricep eventually, no matter what age you are.
Have you seen that meme? We'll shut the show down. Have you seen that meme recently and say, listen, if you've got you haven't got a can-do spirit. Crackheads have got a can-do spirit. They don't sit around all day thinking, man, how am I going to get some crack today? No, they get out there and they get shit done. So does Ultimate Warrior. It's like, this tricep isn't going to tear itself He runs out there, tears it somehow without doing anything. He got things done, then worked out with bands.
Well, we'd like to thank you for the very, disturbing motivation that James Romero's given all of our audience at the end of the show.
It's the end of the show anyway, so you might as well say goodbye.
Yeah, if it is our last episode, then James has really left us out on a high note. So thank you very much for watching the true Here's the Jedi Mind Trick. The other one is not the episode 55 you're looking for. This is the episode 55 you're looking for. I want to thank you for watching this. This is part 2 of our developmental series. We will have a full curriculum, either as part of an episode or a YouTube exclusive very soon. And while my voice goes, because I'm on a pitch count, let James take it over, at least for now, before we get to the Patreon. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I was writing things down. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next Friday for episode 56, which I think is going to be a fan question episode. We haven't done one in, 2-3 months. We like to do them occasionally like that, so I'll put something on the YouTube formerly called the community board, and I think it's just YouTube posts now, whatever it is. But if you subscribe to the channel and then go through whatever the tabs are, one of them will say posts or community board or whatever it will say, and then I'll post there, solicit questions from all you lovely viewers and subscribers to the Stevie Richards Show YouTube channel, and we'll get our questions that way. And that's pretty much it, apart from the fact that you can hear us on all podcast platforms, despite the fact that it is a show, as well as an audio accompaniment to this visual extravaganza that is the Stevie Richards Show. But before we go, as always, Stevie's going to take us out with a thank you to the Patreon supporters. And how can people, I don't think we say this enough, how can people sign up to the Patreon?
Oh, thank you very much, James. I want to say this too. If there's any crackheads in the audience that want to post how they are so productive and get shit done, as James would say, to quote him, even though I don't like to curse, let us know in the comments and that post. And we'll
That's
be
a lie.
reading
You love swearing, man.
We're going to read some crackhead comments in that episode. I can't even believe I just said that. But yeah, go to patreon.com/Stevie Richards and sign up. We have the $1 thank you brother tier, got me brother, and then the $8 producer tier, our most popular tier. You get all the behind the scenes, you get the watch alongs, pre-show, the show notes, and behind the scenes. I am going to update the studio tour, of course, since I'm redesigning the studio, as James accuses me of every month. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank everybody for the support there on Patreon, as well as here on YouTube. Crackhead or not, we value each and every member of our audience. Remember the 5th of November. There we go. We value everybody in our audience. Damn, I always mess up the ending. Thank you so much for watching the true episode 55 of the Stevie Richards Show. See you next week. For episode 56.